cooking on Fair Oaks and Howe in Sacramento, and our brand new Bennett's Westside Grill, Rockland's Blue Oak Town Center on Lone Tree Boulevard. Come let us put a smile on your face and enjoy all our hospitality. Find us on the web at bennettsrestaurants.com. Eat well, stay well, and remember, Bennett's is where you'll always receive a hospitable welcome.
Sactown Sports is home to the Kings, Niners, and now the business of sports. Hosted by Kelly Brothers and brought to you by Cap Trust, offering customized, independent financial advice at captrust.com. Join Kelly Brothers, Carmichael, Dave, and Jason as they look at the business of sports every Thursday at 7:40 a.m. You want to know how sports really work? Follow the money with Kelly Brothers from Cap Trust on Sactown Sports.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave, and I recognize, just like my friends at American Energy Heat and Air, that your time is important. And that's why shopping for a new air conditioner is now easier with American Energy Heat and Air's online quoting tool. All you have to do is go to AmericanEnergyAir.com and get an instant quote right now. It'll help you determine what system you're going to need to get. It'll provide the best pricing options, all from the comfort of your home without having to have somebody come to your home. You know how annoying that is? They come in and everybody there is so sweet and nice, but how much better is it to be able to get it on demand? Visit AmericanEnergyAir.com. Check out how easy it can be. Or if you want to give them a call and talk through what your needs are, 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, your new home for 49ers football in the 916.
Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
Happy Thursday, I'm Simone, and these are your Sactown Sports headlines. After Wild Card Wednesday, we have 4 teams advancing into the divisional rounds of the MLB postseason. Rangers capped the Rays 7-1.
He struck him out looking, and the ball game's over.
Twins move forward with their 2-0 victory over the Blue Jays.
He struck the ball! Twins win! Twins win!
Diamondbacks strike down the Brewers 5-2.
And he struck him out swinging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will advance to the next round of the postseason.
And the Phillies hooked the Marlins 7-1.
100 miles an hour, and Chisholm takes it for strike 3. And the Phillies take the wild card series, sweeping Miami.
And tonight, Chicago Bears prowling for their first win of the season as they square up with the Commanders from FedEx Field. We've got pregame festivities jumping off at 4:30 with kickoff scheduled for 5:15 right here on Sactown Sports. I'm Simone. Those are your headlines. Welcome back in to the Drive, guys.
The only station in Sacramento giving you local sports coverage from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sactown Sports.
Yeah, Drive Guys back with you. Kyle Draper, we have an early nominee here for YouTube chat comment of the day from Rare Tin. Rare Tin says, we are pleased to welcome in episode 2 of a new era with Gleason and Draper. Honorable mention, surprise host Simone J. Johnson. Thank you to all of you to help me get through my day. How about that?
Real, right off the rip,
right,
huh?
yeah.
I love that. That's the kind of energy we need, right?
Yes. We take you up to what a Monday night game we have for you tonight, right here. The Bears and the Commanders, when those two get together. Look out, Kyle.
This might be the Bears' first win, though. That's a team desperately in need of a win. It
might also be their coach's last game.
Right, that's true. I know we'll talk about that in a minute, but this is like the NFL this season is putting to itself to a test that it's Teflon proof. Like no matter what goes on, people will watch because there's been some awful games this season, some awful matchups, and I'm interested to see the numbers. And I'm not a big fan of the Amazon Prime. I got to go search for it kind of Thursday night game. And so I can't wait to see the numbers from tonight's matchup.
I'll bet Roger Goodell can wait to see those numbers. But anyway, it's football. And also today, the NBA preseason getting underway in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Right?
Yeah.
You heard Giannis's joke about Abu Dhabi? You've heard that.
No,
joke.
what did that tell me, please?
This is
Refresh
Giannis's
my
joke.
memory.
He says, people in Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but people in Abu Dhabi do. That was Giannis's joke. It wasn't my
dad
joke.
Boom, boom,
It
boom.
was a Giannis joke. About a year ago, he had that.
That's pretty sweet.
But I know
Pretty
that
sweet.
Kyle Draper saw the first game, Minnesota over Dallas, 111-99, and he's already leaping to conclusions about this NBA season.
Yeah, Dallas is like the Dallas Mavericks are like the Dallas Cowboys. They get all the publicity, all the talk, all the national attention. This is going to be their year. They're going to win 50 games. And what I saw today, I'm already confident in saying the Mavericks will underachieve severely. Because when I watch that team, it's nothing different than what we saw last season when Kyrie and Luka got together. The 16 games they played together, I think they were 5-11 over those 16 games. But it's Luka dribbling the ball, Luka getting his numbers, and then it's Kyrie's turn. They don't look like a cohesive team. And so we had the discussion yesterday, who's a team you're worried about or who's a team you're... I'm not worried about the Dallas Mavericks one bit. Sure, they get the headlines. Sure, they have the names. But this isn't NBA 2K. This isn't All-Star Weekend or anything like that. They don't seem to be a team to me. And, I understand I like Jason Kidd as a coach. I like Kyrie and Luka as individual players. I just don't like the combination. I don't like their roster in Dallas.
Now, when you say they're going to underachieve, I know the over-under for them, and your numbers may vary depending on where you're finding them, but their over-under for wins, 44.5, 44.5. So you're saying when you say they're underachieving, you say they're not going to approach that?
No, I don't think so. I think they're a 40-win team. I think they're at best a play-in team, maybe a 9 or 10 seed, something like that. I mean, if you also look at those over-under numbers, I think the Sacramento Kings were right around the same, right, at 40. So there's no way that they're in the same category, in the same league as the Sacramento Kings. And so here's the thing. What upsets me about when I watch the Dallas Mavericks, you cannot tell me that they have a shot at making the NBA Finals. With that roster, the way they look like, they're probably the 8th, 9th. So they have no hope. And you're talking about Luka Doncic, a great player, Kyrie, future Hall of Famer. But let's be honest, their season's already over.
I don't know. I mean, I'm with you. They're not a contender. We can agree on that.
Right.
Not a legitimate contender. Last year, they were 38-44, and that was after deciding late in the year. They just decided, what the heck? We'll tank the rest of the way, get a better draft pick. But I do like some of the things they did. Now, it's not worth time quibbling about because I agree with you. They're not a threat. I think Grant Williams is a good fit for the way they play. They got Olivia Maxence Prosper, Derek Lively. They made some nice picks, but ultimately I agree with you. That's a franchise that spends so much time bending over backwards to make sure Luka's happy. So you won't leave, will you, Luka? And then they're at cross purposes, and he may be happy, but their team isn't good enough to be a threat in a West that, as we all know and say it every year, is just very competitive.
Yeah, the West is very competitive, and thanks to you printed out this handy-dandy box score. And I'm not going to go box score surfing. That's not what I do. But what I see is
Luka's sound like we appreciate it, but does it?
Luka's going to be great. He's going to be awesome. He's going to get his. But outside of Luka today, the rest of the starters, Grant Williams, Maxence Prosper, Derek Lively, and Kyrie, they were a combined 4 of 18 from the field. Luka's going to put up numbers. He's going to be great. He's going to be an all-star, but I don't think it's going to lead to wins.
They were playing in the middle of the desert today.
It doesn't
weren't
matter,
they?
though.
In the sand dunes with the baskets sticking out of the.
But Whitey, who would you rather be? It's the first preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be the Minnesota Timberwolves at this hour, at this second, who had a great first preseason game, than the Dallas Mavericks, who looked awful today.
I'm with you, but it's close. I mean, I'm with you. I'd rather be Minnesota, but I don't think they're a threat to do anything anyway. And I don't think they've addressed their central problem, which is, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. Today they won a preseason opener, but I just think it's tough to have those two guys on the floor at the same time.
So let me ask you this, and I hear you, and I understand that. Then how come it's okay for the Kings to have Sabonis and Alex Len on the floor together, or Sabonis and JaVale McGee? Karl Anthony Towns is the best shooting big in the entire NBA. Rudy Gobert, a tremendous shot blocker. I don't think we got to see them enough. Like, I thought the sample size was too small before everybody wrote it off.
I just don't know how Karl Anthony Towns is going to guard fours. And to answer your question, obviously, those guys start for Minnesota. They got Cat and the Stifle Tower. Do you prefer Stifle Tower or the French Rejection?
I like Stifle Tower.
Okay.
I'm a Stifle Tower guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they have the Stifle Tower and Cat on the floor when they start the game, and their plan is to have them on the floor a lot. And for the Kings, they're talking about maybe Domas and Len, Domas and JaVale McGee is kind of a change-up. So that's the difference.
I think, and we're looking at this Minnesota Timberwolves team, and let's not forget their best player is Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
And so you don't need a whole lot from Rudy Gobert. You just need solid defense.
He didn't play today, did he, Ant-Man?
No, he didn't even play today. To your point, it's going to come down to Karl Anthony Towns on the defensive end, right?
Mhm.
Can he keep up with those fours? It depends on matchups, though. You look at a Golden State Warriors, they're talking about putting Klay Thompson at 4. So then I don't think it definitely works defensively to have Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert guarding Klay Thompson, at the 4. But, some of the other teams I think you can guard. And so I don't know, but you got to make them pay on the other end as well. I think Minnesota is going to surprise some teams this year.
When they acquired Rudy Gobert, my first question was, who is Karl Anthony Towns going to guard? You know what the answer is? The same person he always guards. Nobody.
No way, right? Yeah. He's not a defender. He'll get you his 20 to 25 points, but he'll give up 30 on the other end. That's why you get a Rudy Gobert, a defensive center, to play alongside him.
I'm with you on Dallas. I don't think they're a threat. I do think they have a chance to be better than last year, but the team that I say they're going to underachieve, the team that's going to underperform, I'd bet money on, maybe not my money, somebody else's money. But you're not going to like this, I know, from the conversation we had yesterday. The team in the West that bank on it, they're going to underperform, is the Suns. Their over-under is 52.5.
You sound like John Hollinger to me.
52
You sound like John Hollinger. I think the
Suns. They won 45 games last year.
But Devin Booker only played 53 games last year or whatever it was. He was out.
Is that a good thing?
Exactly. I think he's going to be healthier this season.
Durant and Beal combined over the last 2 years, let's see, they've missed 136 games over the last 2 years. So, yeah, maybe this year they're fine, but that's a bad sign for that team.
That's a bad sign, but that's why you go out there and get a Brad Beal, so that if you're missing one, you still have a big 2. It isn't on Kevin Durant to do everything. It won't be on Devin Booker to do everything. I would say on any given night, you're going to have 2 of those 3 guys.
I'm not saying they stink. I'm not saying they stink, but I don't think they're going to be,
52 and a half. So what do you got them at then? Like, are they a 46 win team, or I don't think
around 48, 52, as you know, and you know this better than I do. 52 in the West, that's not nothing. I think last year the only team that won more than that was Denver. If I'm not mistaken.
But I think last year was kind of an outlier. I think there's actually a little more separation this year. I don't think, I think teams like New Orleans, depending on Zion, I just think Golden State, they'll be a little farther back than they were last year. I actually like the moves Phoenix made. And the thing about Phoenix, though, Whitey, they didn't make these moves for October, November, and December. They're trying to win a championship. And so you may be right. They may not win 52 and a half games, but you can't tell me that they aren't the second choice in the Western Conference.
What I can tell you is I am not sold on Nurkic whatsoever. If he plays,
you're talking a 4th or 5th option. What do you want from the dude?
Well, they're a little thin, are they not? So they're going to need a lot from their non-superstar threesome, and I don't think they're going to get much from him. And I understand, as you said yesterday, Nurkic doesn't need the ball, doesn't need as many touches as Ayton. I get that, but Ayton's a way better player than Nurkic, and you just have to cross your fingers that he, like half the rest of the roster, is going to be healthy enough to actually play in the games.
But you can say that about anybody. You can say that about every team. You look at, Denver, they're one injury away. Don't let Murray or Jokic go down. Their season's over.
But Phoenix's guys have been injured. I mean, they have an injury history. It's true. The Kings last year were very healthy. What happens if this guy gets hurt or that guy? These guys have injury histories, plural.
But that's why you add, like I said, a Bradley Beal, because Kevin Durant, he's probably going to miss some time. He's going to miss 10 to 15 games probably. But then you got Brad Beal. Brad Beal is going to miss 10 games, sure. But then you got Devin Booker. And so they're banking on 2 of the 3 to be out there at any given moment. And you could argue, you know what's happening? I think you're underestimating who Brad Beal is. He was playing on a bad Washington team. It was checked out probably, but when they were competing in the Eastern Conference, he was a problem. He was the truth. And now you're talking about Brad Beal as your third option. Name me a team in the NBA with a better third option. Not talking about a big 2. I'm talking about a big 3, a better third option than Bradley Beal.
I will do that for you when we come right back. Take a quick break. It's the Drive Guys, Kyle Draper and Whitey Gleason just getting going. Sactown Sports.
Trying to find out where to catch your favorite team's games?
Are you a fan of the Kings, Niners, and the NFL? Well, Sactown Sports has you covered.
Touchdown! San Francisco! It's all on his shoulders. Fox rocks. He fires for the win. He's got the triple.
Catch all your Kings, Niners, and NFL games all year long on Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Your flagship station for the Beam Team, Sactown Sports.
Drive Guys, taking today up to Monday Night Football. We have that game for you, the Washington Commanders. Do you like that name, by the way? They were, of course, the name that was offensive to people. Then they were just the Washington football team, the Washington Commanders, because the newer ownership has suggested maybe we'll revisit that as well.
I'm not a big fan of the name. Whenever I talk about them, I say Washington. I don't even include the Commanders because it just doesn't roll off the tongue just yet. So maybe they'll change it again. I'm going to just stick with Washington right now. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Washington against the always colorful, always entertaining Chicago Bears tonight. We have that game for you. But we're talking about the NBA, the preseason underway with the Dallas Mavericks today falling to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Kyle Draper and I disagreeing on the team in the NBA that is most likely, in our minds, the lock to underperform this year. Kyle went with the Mavericks, an obvious, just knee-jerk overreaction to the first
right. That's exactly what I do.
I expected better from you.
I didn't watch them at all last season. Kyrie and Luka weren't 5-11 when they played together.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got it on now. They're down 46-23, right?
Right.
Oh, well, they're going to be terrible. No, but you asked the question. Seriously, you asked the question, who has a better third option than Phoenix? And I said I would answer that because you're saying Bradley Beal.
Yes.
The only thing I have there, obviously, is Drew Holiday. And I like Drew Holiday more than Bradley Beal. As a scoring option, probably not. As an overall player, yes. And Drew Holiday is an underrated offensive player.
I love Drew Holiday. I'm president of his fan club. But I think you're forgetting who Bradley Beal is because he's been playing in Washington. No, the last few seasons, they've been awful. They've been terrible. Nobody, they're not on national TV. They're not in the headlines. They're not in the news at all. But Bradley Beal is still an elite scorer, and he's only 29 years old. And we're talking about a third option. And Drew Holiday is a great two-way player. But if you look at Drew Holiday's numbers, as great as Drew Holiday is, his production actually went down in the postseason. It's not like he raised his game.
What would Bradley Beal know about the postseason?
He's been there before.
Mhm.
Him and John Wall made the postseason a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was in Boston. We had a series against the Wizards.
Mhm.
But that's been a poorly run organization in terms of roster creation. And so you can't blame Bradley Beal for that. Bradley Beal has been loyal to that team. He sort of followed the Dame Lillard path. He could have requested a trade 5 years ago and been playing on the biggest of stages. Just because he didn't make the playoffs, that's not a reflection of him. That's a reflection of management, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand that. I'd accept that. I'm not going to push back on that. I do think that he's not going to be, and this is pretty obvious, probably not going to be as prolific a scorer when he's playing with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. So then the other things that he does for you are going to be more important. I do think that Bradley Beal is probably underrated as a point guard, if I'm being honest. He's played a little point. I don't think he's a great point guard, but I do think last year he played a little point. I think he was better at that than I thought he'd be. And they're going to need, all hands on deck as far as that goes.
Yeah, they're going to need that. And I do think Bradley Beal can handle the rock. And you say his numbers will dip, but his efficiency might actually go up.
Fair enough.
Think about the looks he's going to get. He's not going to have to average 28, 29 points. He'll get his 20 points per game, I think. As the third option on that team, I got KD right around 28. I got Booker right around 28 and Brad Beal right around 20. Just the looks that he's going to get alongside those guys. And when you look at, his last few years in Washington, I'm going to pull it up right here, 23 points per game, 23 points per game. But then before that, 31 points, 30.5. This is an elite scorer in the NBA.
I saw probably one of his best games that year. The Warriors had that gap year where they were terrible.
Yeah.
They played the Wizards in March, and they came into San Francisco, and there was a lot of talk that maybe Beal ends up going to the Warriors, so he might have been showcasing himself. I think he had 45. He was phenomenal. But he's just not going to be able to be as ball dominant on this team, and I don't think he wants to be either.
Yeah, I just think, when you look at the big three that Phoenix has, this is a much better big three than what Kevin Durant had in Brooklyn. Devin Booker is, doesn't need the ball. He's more than happy to facilitate, he's not a gunner, like James Harden or like Kyrie, and I think Brad Beal to that extent. I mean, I know his 3-point percentage numbers have been down, but this is a guy who one season shot 41% from three, 40%. And the last 3 or 4 years, he's had to do it all by himself. Who's been his best player that he's played with? Kristaps Porzingis?
Him or Russ, but I'd say
Porzingis. Him, Russ. I just think, this will be a resurgent Brad Beal from what we see. And you talk about the health situation, and I'm not sure about the medical staff in Phoenix now, but historically, I know in the past they've had a great medical staff. They've been,
with Shaq.
With Shaq. I don't know if those guys are still around, the same medical staff or anything like that. But they kept Chris Paul out there most of the season last year, until the playoffs when he got hurt. And so I think Phoenix 52.5 is a lot, but I got them right there. I think they're second in the West.
And you mentioned you were poking fun of me, comparing me to Hollinger, but obviously you saw the piece. Hollinger today in The Athletic, he picked a handful of teams that he thinks will underperform. One of them are the Kings, and we'll get to that. But yeah, he's not high on the Suns either.
Well, here's the thing about Hollinger, and I read that article, and he's cut from the same cloth as my guy Kevin O'Connor at the Ringer.
Analytics.
They're analytics. They're numbers guys. The biggest thing they said about the Kings, and I know we're going to talk about that a little later, is the health factor. And so everybody is saying, oh, they can't be this healthy again this season. Well, how come we can't say, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal can't, have a healthy season? Like, they've been banged up the last few years. Maybe this is the year they return to health. Brad Beal, he has a couple of 82-game seasons under his belt. So, and I would also argue, Whitey, and this point, please don't let this, go without notice. When you're competing for a championship, all of a sudden, the same bumps and bruises that keep you out of games in March and April, you play through that. And so 50 games might turn into 60 games for Brad Beal. 55 might turn into 65 because there's something to play for. Positioning, seeding, you're playing for a championship. And so, look at Dame Lillard last year. I mean, people say, oh, he was hurt last year. Well, Dame came out in the Chris Haynes article and said that the team told him to shut it down the last 11 games. And so that won't happen this year with the Phoenix Suns.
To your point, that's one reason why I will always admire Devin Booker in the finals. Yeah. Was it the finals or the conference finals? When he broke his nose, and his nose was smashed across his face, and he strapped it up and played through that.
Yes.
You can see it wasn't just chipped or something. It was like smashed in his face, and he played through that. That was incredible.
He's one of those guys that just loves to hoop too.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is in that same category. And it'll be interesting to see with the NBA's new resting rules too, who sits out, who doesn't sit out.
What Kawhi said about that?
Yeah, I did see. He said
it's not going to make
it. Like, he's saying he was legitimately hurt. Yeah. I mean, he could have probably played through some of that. And if you want to be eligible for the postseason awards, you got the 65 game threshold too. So I want to see how that impacts guys, whether they rest or play. Like, all of a sudden, is LeBron going to play 70 games this season? When he only played, 53, I think it was, or 55 this past year?
If I'm the Kings, I hope he plays a lot of games in the regular season. A ton of games. Don't you?
So he can be gassed come the postseason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's another team. We agreed on that yesterday. The Lakers, nobody likes it, but they're a team that looks like they could be really good this year.
Yeah, I like the pieces they added. They got some size. They added some shooting, athleticism, and they'll be a force to be reckoned with. You looked at the trade deadline. When you look at the Lakers last season, it's before the trade deadline and after it. They were a different team the second half of the season. They made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Sure, they got smoked by Denver, but Denver was running through everybody. Phoenix is the one team that gave Denver the toughest matchup. Now you add in the Brad Beal, I think it's going to be a heck of a series.
Yeah, just to put a bow on it, because I know there aren't a lot of Suns fans around here, but since we're talking about Phoenix, how good are they? Hollinger makes, I think, an interesting point. He points out that, okay, you got Durant and Beal, but remember, you don't have Bridges and Paul anymore, and those guys actually played well. And they played a lot of minutes. So it's not just, you're not just adding to the team that they had last year. You're losing a couple guys. Obviously, you had to get rid of some guys to bring Durant in. So they're not just adding pieces to the good team they had last year. They're losing some good players too. So when you talk about 52.5, to me, that's awfully lofty. And I don't think they're going to get there.
That's a lot, but I don't think they'll miss it by much. I think, this might be Kevin Durant's last best chance at a championship. And, I know the West is tough. I get that. But, man, they have so much firepower. They added a little bit of depth. Like, the rest of the roster is better than I think people are giving them credit for. They added some veterans out there. Eric Gordon's on the team now. And so, I think Phoenix is a 50-win team. I think Denver's a 50-win team. And I think our Sacramento Kings will be knocking on the door as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as we said, one of the teams Hollinger says will underperform this year, Sacramento Kings. We will get to that. But coming up next, Kyle Shanahan says to call Purdy a system quarterback he says it's ridiculous, but is it really? That's next with Kyle Draper, Whitey Gleason, Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Has Monty put together a roster that can help make a deep playoff run this season?
Just trying to give coach options, give him guys that can help us win in a variety of areas. Obviously, our top guys are going to play every game, but there's going to be other times, whether it's injuries, matchups, we've got to have, some variety on the bench for coach to point to and say, go in there and help us win.
Tune into every Kings game this season
on Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave letting you know Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room and primetime football location, is back. Cap Casino giving away $500 per game in high hand bonuses for every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night primetime game, offering the best food, best service, and the best action with the most variety of games in the region and conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Check it out. Capital Casino. And as always, please remember to gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time to trade in and trade up at Northern California's #1 Honda dealer, Stockton Honda. Whether you're shopping new or pre-owned, Stockton Honda has the selection and savings. Plus, get top dollar for your trade. Come in today or go to StocktonHonda.com. It's all a click away.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
#1 claim based on 2022 total new and Honda certified pre-owned vehicle car sales from American Honda Motor Company's own one report.
Jerry and Kenny here from Bell Brothers. And if you've even thought of replacing your old, outdated, inefficient windows, now is the time to take action.
Right now at Bell Brothers, when you buy one window, you'll get the second one for 30% off. That's right. Buy one, get the second one 30% off.
That's real savings, up to $6,000. You have to buy at least 4 windows to qualify, and you can't mix windows and doors. But beyond that, every second window is 30% off.
For example, when you buy 10 windows, you will get 5 windows at 30% off. We also have 0% interest financing available for qualified buyers. Call for details.
To take advantage of our buy one, get one 30% off sale, call Bell Brothers now at 916-444-1234 or find us online at theNoSurpriseGuys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Quick Quack Car Wash is a proud partner of the Sacramento Kings and can't wait for the upcoming season. To celebrate, Quick Quack is giving one lucky duck a pair of lower-level tickets to the Kings home opener versus Golden State on October 27th. Enter for your chance to win this epic opening night showdown by going to SactownSports.com. Be there for the Kings versus Golden State, courtesy of Quick Quack, where you can wash your car all you want with an unlimited membership.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
Happy Thursday, I'm Simone, and these are your Sactown Sports headlines. After Wild Card Wednesday, we have 4 teams advancing into the divisional rounds of the MLB postseason. Rangers capped the Rays 7-1.
He struck him out looking, and the ball game's over.
Twins move forward with their 2-0 victory over the Blue Jays.
He struck him out! Twins win! Twins win!
Diamondbacks strike down the Brewers 5-2.
And he struck him out swinging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will advance to the next round of the postseason.
And the Phillies hooked the Marlins 7-1.
100 miles an hour, and Chisholm takes it for strike 3. And the Phillies take the wild card series, sweeping Miami.
And tonight, Chicago Bears prowling for their first win of the season as they square up with the Commanders from FedEx Field. We've got pregame festivities jumping off at 4:30 with kickoff scheduled for 5:15 right here on Sactown Sports. I'm Simone. Those are your headlines. Welcome back in to the Drive, guys.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
Sactown Sports.
Welcome back. Look, I know Kyle Draper and I are disagreeing on things. We do that. That's okay. But I got to say this. We got somebody on the chat here, and they crossed the line, Kyle. Not on my watch.
What did they say?
Not on my watch. This is from Patrick Donaldson. Draper wearing his son's jersey under that shirt. LOL.
How'd you know? Darn it, rats. He got me. Come on. See, I'm an unbiased observer. Like most of you out there on the YouTube chat driving right now, I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. I like the Suns roster. I think, I think bringing in Nurkic, and I know, he has some defensive liabilities, but I think Ayton, the locker room culture, obviously he, wasn't happy the last couple of years. I think it's addition by subtraction for that team. And so you may say Ayton's a better player. Yes. But I think for that team, Nurkic will serve to be better.
I understand that. Arthur Smith says, I think Portland will get a bit more out of Ayton than the Suns did, especially going young, but still won't make the playoffs, but better fits up there slowly. So, yeah, Portland, obviously they're nowhere near where they want to be yet, but that looks like they could be a really fun team to watch this year.
No, they're going to be fun. They got some Scoot, Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons, who was playing great before Dame Lillard came back last season. And so they're one of the exciting teams in the NBA. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Ayton, I can't figure out. I know he's got tremendous potential, and you see flashes of it, but there's times when it's like, is he there? Is he? Yeah.
Right. And he's the kind of guy, and we've talked about it, with other guys, he just needed a fresh start. And he's going to be an option on that team, maybe the second option behind a Scoot.
Chris Paul made
Shade.
him really good.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Chris Paul made him good, exactly. But then you bring in a Kevin Durant, and he falls, farther down on the pecking order, and I don't think he was too happy with that. He could be an 18-10 guy, a 20-10 guy for Portland.
Now, you've got Sunday night, of course, we've got the Cowboys and the 49ers here, that game here, Sactown Sports, and you've got, Kyle, the Kings pregame opener in Vancouver, no
Yes.
matter what people tell you, against Toronto. Have you got all your homework for that game done yet?
Yes, I'm doing some
Really?
prep work. I still got a few more things to dive into, but first of all, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to watch that game, actually, because I was looking on the tube today, and it's not going to be on NBA TV. So I may have to listen to my guy G-Man right here on Sactown Sports 1140 to get the real flavor of what's happening up there in Vancouver. Yeah. Yeah, seriously. I don't think it's on TV this weekend.
Oh, okay. I assumed it was on
NBC?
Yeah.
Nah, don't get me started.
I apologize. In fact, I thought I looked it up, but I guess I
No,
looked it up
we are doing one preseason game, and it's the home game the following weekend against the Golden State Warriors with yours truly and Katie on the call for that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I apologize. Yeah, I thought you were
Nah.
Okay. So we do have the 49ers and the Cowboys. You can always watch that.
Yeah.
This is what Kyle Shanahan has to say about this notion that Brock Purdy is just a system quarterback. And it's funny. It seems that even we talked about this and we talk about it. Even people that are coming around on Brock Purdy, some of them are saying they're qualifying it. Yeah, he's pretty good for a system quarterback. I understand that. But here's what Kyle said about it yesterday. Quote, "That's pretty ridiculous. You just have to watch the tape. He plays at a high level every time he's been out there in a lot of different situations versus a lot of different defenses on the road, at home, in playoff games, when injured. You can't do all that stuff. He's been out there too long. It's on tape." And I understand why he's a little defensive, but aren't the good quarterbacks, aren't they all in a way system quarterbacks? I mean, if you pick a quarterback, draft him, sign him, trade for him, and he doesn't fit your system, you're an idiot. He's got to fit what you're doing and how you do it.
100% right. And I always say, when people talk about great coaches, well, you're not a great coach unless you have great players. And the same thing, the all-time great quarterbacks, they've had great coaches, great systems. Dan Marino, was he a system quarterback? Look at the way he threw it around and the talent he had around him. John Elway, Tom Brady, was he a system quarterback? The only thing I'll say about Tom Brady is he won in multiple. Then he went to Tampa and won as well.
Right.
The thing about Brock Purdy, and I did some research, I did some digging because, I was hard on this guy early on. I called him Linsanity, the Jeremy Lin of the NFL.
I had to pretend I was mad when you said it, but it's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny, right? But, he's proven me wrong because he's come out there and done it this season as well. But the Brock Purdy we're seeing in San Francisco is pretty much the Brock Purdy they saw at Iowa State, the Brock Purdy they saw in high school as well. The only difference is he's not turning the ball over. No interceptions. I think in his senior year at Iowa State, he had 8 interceptions.
Yeah, he threw the ball all over the place.
He threw the ball all over the
like
place.
Steph Curry.
But he had a 71% completion percentage. So his accuracy has always been there. So going 20 of 21, when you have that kind of accuracy and that kind of weapons and that kind of coaching, it's a perfect storm to get the best of Brock Purdy. Now, if he was in Chicago, will we be seeing the same guy? Maybe not. Probably not. But
probably glimpses of it, right?
Glimpses,
Every so often,
glimpses.
say, oh, that was a good play.
Yeah, exactly. But, to call him a system quarterback, I understand Shanahan's a little offended, but you can't argue that the system is great for him. The talent around him is great. That does play a factor. I don't think he would be trash if he went somewhere else, but he wouldn't be this great.
That's why they drafted him.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this guy, wow, he knows he can do the things we need quarterbacks to do. That said, we talked about this a little bit with Zachariah and with Chris Watkins, Waddy. Who does Brock Purdy remind you of? Let me just throw it out there. I'd love to know what you think. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. There's no wrong answer, right? It's just who does he remind you of? Because it is true in my mind, he's a difficult guy to compare because he's unique in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I was driving in and I woke up this morning and we talked about this in our rundown, and I'm like, who does he remind me of? He's not obviously Steve Young or Jeff Garcia or anything like that. I don't think he's a statue behind the pocket either. And I'm not talking about wins and losses and results. I'm talking about when he gets the ball in his hands, who does he look like after he takes the snap? Drew Brees, there's been some, maybe Peyton Manning a little. No, but Peyton was more of a statue. He didn't scramble. He couldn't buy time with his legs as much as a Brock Purdy. A young Tom Brady, I think that's a good comparison. Tom Brady, very good at getting the ball out quickly.
They're very
good
similar
at
in that as soon as they started, they're like, wow, who is that guy? He's really good.
And Tom Brady was a great decision maker with the football, and that's where I see Brock Purdy is. But from a physical standpoint, I think Brock Purdy has a stronger arm than Tom Brady, and so I don't want to make that comparison. I just have Drew Brees. That's the one I keep coming back to.
He reminds me of Joe Montana, okay? And I know Zachariah was talking about this, and I'm not saying he's better than Joe Montana or he's going to be better than Joe Montana, and a lot of it is just the uniform, but seeing a smaller guy who wasn't as highly touted. Joe Montana was, of course, he went to Notre Dame, and he was a third-round pick, and this guy went to a smaller school without the football history and was the last guy picked in the draft, so it's an imperfect comparison. But to see a guy that wasn't just considered an elite prospect winning, it reminds me of Joe Montana, and also the decision-making and the sense I get anyway of watching, not being there in the huddle, of the poise he has in the command of the situation. That reminds me of Joe Montana.
You're talking arguably the best quarterback in the history of football.
You just
At
compared him
worst,
to Tom Brady.
second best.
And I said, oh, okay. But I go Joe Montana, and you're saying, whoa, hold on.
I just, because Joe Montana is the holy grail around here. He's, you know, you can't, like, to compare somebody to Joe freaking,
It's what it reminds
Joe
me of.
Montana?
Yeah, it's what it reminds me
Joe
of.
Montana?
You mentioned Jeff Garcia. I see a little bit of that, just size-wise, but Jeff Garcia sometimes looked a little almost fidgety back there in the pocket. And he was very effective, and he's a Pro Bowl quarterback. I know all that. But Brock Purdy's like, he's just got everything under control. They used to call, it was kind of a dumb nickname, but they used to call Joe Montana Joe Cool, because it just seemed like, I got it. And that's the similarity there. I don't know if he's going to win even one Super Bowl. Joe Montana won 4, but that's the similarity. A smaller guy who just seems like he has a knack for recognizing where the ball needs to go, and he has a knack for getting it there.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you hear from people when they speak of Brock Purdy, and I want to hear from you guys out there, 916-339-1140. It's his decision-making, it's his demeanor, it's the quiet confidence that he has. You know, there's a story out there about, you know, how Alabama was recruiting him, Nick Saban was recruiting him, and when he met with Nick Saban talked about, you know, how inaccurate Brock Purdy was. And Brock Purdy said, that shows me this guy hasn't watched a single, you know, second of me, because accuracy is his thing, you know? And so decision-making has always been his thing. And I think, you know, when you watch Brock Purdy, I think that Joe Cool thing that you talk about when it comes to Joe, I see a little bit of that. I just hate mentioning Montana and Purdy in the same. And it's just, I got to put a pause, a period, or something between those two.
You got a guy that won 4 Super Bowls and a guy that's started 13 games, whatever it is. I get that. But that's who I'm reminded of. On the text line here, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. From the 916, here's another one I'd never heard before. He reminds me of Terry Bradshaw. Maybe not quite as tough, but as a tough competitor.
Man, that's going back.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I was born when Bradshaw was, but I don't remember Bradshaw.
The game was so different.
Yeah, the game was so different.
I mean, Terry Bradshaw never had completion percentages anywhere near what Brock Purdy's putting up. Nobody did.
Yeah.
Nobody did. He did have the weapons. Terry Bradshaw had a lot of weapons, and he won from the 209. Way too much love for Purdy.
Wow.
Yeah. Has never beaten a decent team. Dink and dunk. That's all he does.
What?
Dink and dunk. That's all he does.
He called him dink and dunk. That's awesome. No, and that's a Raiders fan chiming in, I would imagine, or somebody like that, a Seahawks fan chiming in. But even me, the most noted Brock Purdy hater, you know, around, can honestly say he's doing everything you ask him to do. And sure, he may not be passing for 400 yards. He may not be, you know, averaging 15 yards per completion or whatever it may be, but he's doing everything. And so it's hard to knock him right now.
20 for 21 in the last game. And they weren't all dinks and dunks. They weren't.
And, you know, he's made some plays, you know, when he scrambled, buying time with the legs, going left, throwing right. You know, I think his arm is stronger than a lot of people want to admit, too. Like, he has a cannon on it, I think.
339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Who does Brock Purdy remind you of? It's amazing to me. We've heard Troy Aikman. Today, a new one, Terry Bradshaw. What do you got? You with me on Joe, by the way? We're going to show, as 49er fans, we're going to show Kyle Draper what Joe Montana and Brock Purdy were all about, what playing quarterback in the Bay is all about. So we got that coming up. Also, we're going to talk about Bay Area now with a WNBA team. How come we don't have one? That more coming up on the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sactown Sports. Get the latest on equipment, area courses, people who play the great game, and plenty of good conversations about golf. It's the Golf to Go Hour every week with Frank LaRosa on Sactown Sports. Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop, America's most awarded golf facility. Naturewood Home Furnishings, where it's all about choices and always about quality.
I'm Ebony Loren, and Febrez's new scent, Soothe and Restore, is so good I wrote a song about it.
I know just what I do. Febreze has my favorite scent. Makes the perfect environment. Sweet like sugar, smooth shea butter. What could be better than being with each other now? Breathe out, people breathe. La, 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 la.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Sacramento will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 916-277-8599. That's 916-277-8599. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave asking you, are you feeling the pain of paying more and more for your gas? PG&E has increased their rates 4 times in the last 5 years, and the new forecast says PG&E customers may see their bills increase 32% by 2026. The good thing is there are steps you can take to protect yourself from these rate hikes, and better yet, American Energy may be able to help you completely eliminate your gas bill with a new ultra-high efficiency comfort system. Did you know SMUD offers huge rebates to eliminate your old gas guzzler? They can help you guide through the whole process. Seriously, listen to me. You go to the SMUD website. There's tons of rebates available, but it is confusing on how to do it. Listen to these rebates. $2,500 from American Energy, $3,500 from SMUD, $1,000 from Caltech, $2,000 home system upgrades. That's $9,000 in rebates. Let American Energy help you out at 916-520-9990.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
For 75 years, the Keys family from Naturewood Home Furnishings has been serving families just like yours and mine. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with Golf to Go. The Naturewood team takes great pride and significant effort to offer Northern California families a vast selection of home furnishings, most of which are made right here in this country. The kitchen table, which we purchased so many years ago, speaks to the enduring quality of the Naturewood product lines. We treasure memories made seated around that table with family and friends for birthday celebrations, school projects, and, well, many late-night meals when the day just got away from us. Naturewood has provided thousands with home furnishings that not only last for generations, but also lead to everlasting memories of cherished times. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings now during their 75th anniversary sale and get started making your own brand of memories. Meet the Keys family at Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
Does your dog leave frowny piles of poo around the yard? Do you know that a solid poo is one of the best indicators of your dog's gut health? Supreme Source Super Premium Dog Food is made with organic super seaweed and other powerful antioxidants, supporting a healthy digestive system. Real protein is always the first ingredient, plus a blend of essential vitamins and minerals that help support your dog's overall health and well-being. Do their digestion a solid, literally. Find Supreme Source Premium Dog Food at Safeway, Save Mart, and Smart & Final, or a local grocery store near you.
It's the model year-end sales event at Acura of Stockton. Elevate your driving experience with a vehicle that's built to impress. Lease a new Acura RDX or MDX. Acura of Stockton has a great selection of new Acuras and customer service that will exceed your expectations. Take luxury to a whole new level in a new Acura from Acura of Stockton or AcuraofStockton.com, where precision-crafted performance is at your fingertips.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Your new home for 49ers football in the 916 Sactown Sports.
Speaking of, Drive Guys here, Whitey and Kyle Draper. Huge game, of course, for the 49ers and for Brock Purdy, who's in about as bright of a national spotlight this week as he's ever been in. So who does Brock Purdy remind you of as we watch this incredible story unfold? He's a difficult guy to find comparisons for, isn't he? I got Joe Montana. And Kyle says that's going too far, but you went with Tom Brady. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Before we get to the phones real quickly here on the text line, someone mentioned Terry Bradshaw from the 916. Bradshaw and all the quarterbacks in that era, they didn't have the completion percentage because defenses could knock down the receivers, mug the receivers. Bradshaw said he was dumb, but he always made smart plays. I'm a Raider fan. And that guy just has a knack for finding the right receiver at the right time. That's the similarity I see between, he says, Bradshaw and Brock Purdy.
All right. I'm going to trust him. I can't, Bradshaw was just a little bit before my time, so I don't want to put my foot in the mouth there, but I like that comparison.
But, of course, Montana and Bradshaw both won multiple
Super Bowls. And so, to me, Brock Purdy is doing everything right, everything you can ask for. He's one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. Just keep it going.
Yeah. Not according to the Ringer, though.
I know.
Joe Montana gets a mention from the 925. So does Richard Simmons, but I think we can skip over that from the 530. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. John, you're on the drive with Kyle Draper, Whitey Gleason. What's up?
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
I'm going to kind of take you back a little bit since you said there's no wrong answer.
Uh-oh.
How about Doug Flutie?
Well, how about Doug Flutie? Doug Flutie, he underachieved, didn't he, really, ultimately, as an NFL player?
Well, I think he wasn't on that great of teams at the time, but I think because of the stature, the way that he threw the ball, and, just his presence, yeah, he didn't go very far, but I'm just looking at the size, the way that they pass, the way that they look at stuff, and it's just kind of an odd thing that you can't really compare him to Montana or Bradshaw or any of them guys. But somebody like Flutie, who's actually kind of the same size, doesn't run the greatest, but he could run. It's just kind of a weird thing. It just kind of came to mind, and since you said there's no wrong answer, I thought I'd throw that out there.
Got you. Thank you, John.
All right,
yeah, Flutie, I thought, in my mind as John was talking, I'm thinking Flutie was like 5'8" or something. He's listed at 5'10".
Wow.
And I think Purdy's 5'11", but I've never in my mind made that comparison before.
No, I think of Flutie as a smaller quarterback, more mobile with his legs than Brock Purdy. And so we did say no wrong answers, so I'm not going to shoot down John's take on that, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that.
Where Doug Flutie really made a name for himself was in the Canadian Football League, and I know that because he came here when Sacramento had a team in the CFL, and the first game they played here was against the Calgary Stampeders, and Doug Flutie and the Stampeders came in, and the place was packed. So that's the big difference. Doug Flutie never quite found his niche in the NFL, and Brock Purdy so far has had no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem. Very different circumstances surrounding those two quarterbacks. You know, I'm just going down the list and just trying to think of comparisons. Joe Flacco, I don't know. I mean, it's tough, right? You know, who do you say? I'm looking at Joe Flacco. He was I don't have his height. They list Brock Purdy at 6'1".
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they list him at 6'1". Okay. So he's listed a little taller, and so that's why I was thinking, all right, maybe obviously somebody taller than a Flutie or something like that. Maybe a Flacco or Trent Dilfer. I don't know. It's hard to come up with somebody.
Try this on. I think one of the reasons it's hard to come up with comps for him is he is something of a system quarterback, but he's just hyper efficient at it.
Right.
So it's not because he's limited at it. He's just really good at it.
Yeah.
And he's a game manager, but you know what? That's a really important skill for any quarterback. Tom Brady, we don't think of him as a game manager, but he's pretty good at managing a game.
No, he was great at that. And, you know, somebody on the YouTube chat said Ben Roethlisberger, and I don't see it. I think, you know, that two different quarterbacks,
right.
I feel
Ben
like.
Ben could make a play on his own when he needed to with his size.
With his size and his physicality. This is a tough question, though. This is a great question. Who is Brock Purdy? Who's his comparison out there?
Yeah, Pike916 says, to me, Purdy's more like Steve Young. And again, no wrong answers, but I don't see that.
No, Young could
accurate.
Dominate you with his
very accurate passer.
Legs too, though. You know, I was thinking Warren Moon. You know, we could throw
Warren
anybody
Moon
out there.
Pure.
Yeah, he was pure. Yeah, you could throw anybody out there.
Maybe we'll have a clearer idea in another year or two. Maybe Purdy will continue to
a couple Super Bowls later, you know.
Yeah. And don't you think one of the reasons we're having such a hard time with him is because, and this gets back to why it's so hard for the people that actually draft players, he's gotten a lot better. When teams draft a player in any sport, they're guessing how much better a guy's going to get, but you don't know. And Brock Purdy he's improved since he was drafted, maybe more than any player we've ever seen.
And this is where I give Kyle Shanahan a ton of credit. You know, I've talked, you know, bad about Shanahan. You know, you got to get it done this year, but he has empowered Brock Purdy. He has instilled confidence. And I've said it time and time again, when a player has not only the belief of his coach, but also the belief in himself, and it feels like he could do anything on it, that confidence is hard to shake. And so with Brock Purdy now, 20 of 21 this past week, and he is confident. He is confident in his ability. He's confident in his coaching staff and his teammates, and he knows he has the blessing, the backing of his coaching staff. And so Kyle Shanahan, to me, has really instilled so much confidence. I wish he would have did the same thing with Trey Lance. I wish he would have, you know, stuck with it with Jimmy Garoppolo and instilled that same. But what's going to happen that first game where Brock Purdy does turn it over 2 or 3 times, 3 interceptions? What's Kyle going to say afterwards? You know, right now everything's all warm and fuzzy and rosy. Right. He's the perfect quarterback. Kyle Shanahan, you know, saying he's the real deal. You know, it's blasphemous that he's a system quarterback. But when things get a little rocky, is Kyle going to have that same belief in Brock?
Let me give you a partial comp. In some ways, Brock is similar to this guy. He's an Eagle guy, and you're going to scoff. But I'm just talking about part of his game. The low interception percentage, didn't throw picks, high completion percentage, Donovan McNabb.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you know, and I would say second half of his career, Donovan, because Donovan McNabb used to be able to beat you with his legs too. And then all of a sudden he stopped running, but then he became a tremendous pocket passer as well. And so I like that comparison. I like that a lot. Yeah.
All right, good.
All right. We agree on it. Okay.
Yeah. Kenny Stabler gets a mention. Mark
Bolger. Wow. Gee. We're just throwing out names right now.
Well, that just says it all. It's like this guy, all of them, you go, yeah, kind of. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see that.
All right. We'll resume that conversation as well here today and through tomorrow as we get ready for the 49ers and the Cowboys. I want to just touch, well, actually, we got to take a time out here. I apologize.
Yeah.
We'll get to what's going on WNBA-wise.
I want to talk about,
And also, we got to get to what John Hollinger had to say about your Sacramento Kings. So we're back to basketball next year. Drive Guys, Kyle Draper, Whitey Gleason, Sactown Sports.
Can the Niners build off their NFC Championship appearance from last season? How will the quarterbacks perform throughout the year?
Purdy back, now going to throw for the end zone, wide open, Brandon Ayuk is on fire!
Will the the defense lead this squad again.
Intercepted. Ball got tipped up and taken by Fred Warner.
Get all your 49er coverage throughout the NFL season on Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com.
All new spring deals are here at Lowe's. Start planting your garden this weekend with Bonnie 11.8-ounce vegetables. Buy 4 for $10. Plus, liven up your patios and decks with fresh blooms. Select 1.5-gallon hanging baskets or 2 for $20. Lowe's knows spring. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 5/17. In-store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. While supplies last, excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Want the best movie experience in town? Join Sactown Sports' IMAX Pass by visiting SactownSports.com and sign up today. You can win tickets to see this week's film at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
It's time now for the Silver and Black Report, brought to you by ACR Home Services. For all your roofing and solar needs, visit acrhomeservices.com. Another tough one for the Silver and Black, as they are tired of seeing Khalil Mack, who tormented them with 6 sacks of rookie quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who was filling in for the injured Jimmy G. O'Connell battled the team back, but a late pick stopped the comeback, and now the Silver and Black are just 1-3. Up next, they return home for a Monday night game against the Packers. Let ACR Home Services be your one-stop shop for all your home needs, starting with unbeatable roofing services. Right now, get a new roof and receive $1,000 off that roof. So sign up today and save with no payment for up to 12 months. And ACR is more than just a roofing company. Whether it's roofing, solar, electrical work, you name it, when you choose ACR Home Services, you're not just getting a contractor, you're partnering with a team that's invested in your satisfaction. That's ACR Home Services.
KHTKAM HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
This is Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
Happy Thursday, I'm Simone, and these are your Sactown Sports headlines. After Wild Card Wednesday, we have 4 teams advancing into the divisional rounds of the MLB postseason. Rangers capped the Rays 7-1.
He struck him out looking, and the ball game's over.
Twins move forward with their 2-0 victory over the Blue Jays.
He struck him out! Twins win! Twins win!
Diamondbacks strike down the Brewers 5-2.
And he struck him out swinging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will advance to the next round of the postseason.
And the Phillies hooked the Marlins 7-1.
100 miles an hour, and Chisholm takes it for strike 3. And the Phillies take the wild card series, sweeping Miami.
And tonight, Chicago Bears prowling for their first win of the season as they square up with the Commanders from FedEx Field. We've got pregame festivities jumping off at 4:30 with kickoff scheduled for 5:15 right here on Sactown Sports. I'm Simone. Those are your headlines. Welcome back in to the Drive, guys.
The only station in Sacramento giving you local sports coverage from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sactown Sports.
I don't know what it is about these analytics guys. John Hollinger, who used to be in the NBA, right, Kyle? He used to work for the Grizzlies.
The Memphis Grizzlies, yeah.
He picks the Kings as one of the teams that will underperform this year. We'll get to that coming up here on the Drive, guys. Before we get to that, there's been a lot going on in the Bay Area today, basketball-wise, because they are celebrating the announcement that the WNBA will be expanding into the Bay Area, team to begin playing 2025. I believe Joe Lacob said they're going to be called the Golden State something. They're probably going to be called Golden State, whatever they're going to be. Yeah, the new franchise likely to be known as Golden State. And Kyle, I know you and a lot of people around here are a little unhappy that we don't have a WNBA announcement to make closer to home.
Yeah, and shout out to the Warriors, Golden State and San Francisco and Oakland and the WNBA. Great for you. But to me, watching this press conference, watching the announcement, we're sitting here watching it on NBA TV a little earlier, and I'm gonna just say it pissed me off because the Monarchs were basically robbed from the city of Sacramento, and they were at it high, coming off a championship, tremendous support, tremendous history, tremendous players. And why wouldn't you come back to Sacramento? Why wouldn't that be one? And I understand the glitz and glam of the Bay Area, San Francisco, a lot of dollars, the Warriors organization, Joe Lacob and company, they're viewed as, a great leadership group and things like that. But the city of Sacramento deserves a WNBA team. And, it's sort of like the Seattle Supersonics in the NBA. Like when expansion comes again, Seattle should get a team. And we're the same way. Sacramento should get a WNBA team. There's no doubt that this fan base would support it. It's a basketball crazed area. And we have tremendous ambassadors, former players that I'm sure would love to be a part of it. Ruthie Bolton, she's right down the street. I think she's in Fairfield right now, or Vacaville, that area. She would be a part of, whatever group came back. And so it's disappointing to see it go to San Francisco and not come here to Sacramento.
Well, I know there's been rumblings for years that, hey, maybe Sacramento may get a team. I don't know how close Sacramento ever came. I know that some people on the chat are suggesting that pandemic set back Sacramento's efforts to bring the WNBA here. I don't know. I do know that, well, we all know that the Warriors are one of the most, one of the richest franchises in all of sports. And so they're promising here to put all their financial might behind this effort. And obviously that had a lot to do with it. It is unfortunate, though, because the Monarchs, to your point, one of the original WNBA teams, they did very well here. And for a WNBA team, they were well supported. Ultimately, they weren't making enough money, but the league has, they have a much better TV contract than they had.
Right. It's a much, and WNBA women's basketball is on the rise. It's hip and cool to watch right now. The playoffs going on.
The quality of play.
Right.
The way
exactly.
It's improved is staggering.
It's unbelievable. And so I hope, they add another team. There's talk that, a second expansion franchise might go to Portland. That's a great city. I get it and all. But, man, I feel like Sacramento deserves one.
Yeah, the league expanded to 16 teams, according to ESPN, by the 2000 season, but several franchises folded or relocated over the next decade. So they've been very cautious about expansion since 2008 when the Atlanta Dream were added, and now the WNBA full force. Here they go, making the big announcement today. Going into the Bay Area, San Francisco will get the Golden State, fill in the blank, WNBA team, and we'll still wait here in Sacramento.
Still waiting.
Got that championship banner hanging from the Golden One round.
Right. And during our pregame shows throughout the season.
JaVale McGee's mom was a mom.
Yeah, JaVale. Think about that. We can have Pam McGee come back as well, and JaVale, and do a whole segment with them. And, I mentioned Ruthie. You got Tisha. Yes. I mean, it's
Yolanda Griffith.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I mean, it has a tremendous history, the Monarchs do. And when you talk to people in the city, and you talk to fans at the arena, there's still a love affair with the Monarchs. That's one of those things where, the Monarchs leave, they fold up, and it still hurts, almost 20 years later. And so I hope it comes back. There was a group, I thought with Vivek that, he said, he would try to get them back. But honestly, if with this team going to San Francisco, I think the hopes of bringing the Monarchs back took a hit with today's announcement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of WNBA. So you don't want to expand into different regions.
Yeah,
as you say, the Northwest. Well, they do have a team in Seattle, right? They still have the Storm.
Yes, they got the Storm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll at least play some games up here. I don't know.
Would Sacramento people support the WNBA franchise in San Francisco?
They might, if that was the only way to get the WNBA here, and if they marketed it regionally. I understand your point, and you're probably right. But I think it'd be better than no games, wouldn't it?
If Joe Lacob and them, no, the Warriors ownership group coming up here trying to get some of our dollars, and I don't know. There's a rivalry brewing, not between the franchises, but I'm talking the cities now. There's a pushback to, what's happening in the Bay.
Probably should walk that one back. All right.
I'm just looking for way. You're optimistic, pie in the sky. Oh, yeah, it would be nice. I'm like, I don't know. I think, the Niners, the Giants, the A's, those are the franchises that can bleed over into the Sacramento region. Any kind of basketball, I just think, the hatred is too deep right now, man.
One of the reasons it hurts so much, and this may be an obvious point, but it's because the Monarchs actually came in won a championship. I was there that night.
Right.
When they won the WNBA championship, and that was a huge deal for Sacramento.
Exactly. And that's why I go back to the point I made earlier. Like, it's an emotional thing with Monarchs fans, too. You know, it's not like they were just some regular, ordinary franchise. They were a winning franchise. And then to fold up like that, you know, there's some PTSD, some scars that were left from that night.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons it hurts, too, is because they were one of the original franchises in the WNBA, and that was because the Kings were so popular then, and the Maloofs were hot. So it was an acknowledgement of how well things were going for the Kings, and now things are going well for the Kings again.
Right.
So we thought maybe, okay.
And that's maybe why the Warriors get the franchise. Like, if the Warriors weren't who they were, would they be actually getting the WNBA franchise? But, you know, around the league, Golden State, the Warriors organization, is looked at as the model organization around the league. And so now they get the franchise.
Do you agree with this? Joe Lacob, he was involved in a forerunner of the WNBA, the ABL, I think, which was a women's league, American Basketball League. Anyway, yeah, he owned the San Jose Lasers. I never saw them, but I remember that. But he still says, look, I really think we should play during basketball season in the winter. What do you think of that?
No, I disagree. I disagree. I mean, I think it would be fine. I think people would come. But I like the idea of the WNBA having the summer, having basketball, the summer all to itself. Then you would have to be, let's say you play during the season. Golden One Center is already packed as is. You have to rearrange the concerts. You have to look at dates outside of when the Kings play. I just think, summer basketball is missing. That's one thing I miss here in Sacramento. It's like when the Kings season ends, it's like, man, we got to wait 6 months, 5 months again for basketball. If you have the Monarchs starting up in late May, then you're like, you're not starved as much for basketball anymore.
Yeah. And I would think also, if you're a WNBA owner, you would have to spend more money to get players who are normally in Europe during the regular basketball season to say, no, we're not going to go to Europe. We're going to come here and play for you. That would cost more money.
Yeah, it would cost more money. And fortunately, I feel like we're seeing less and less of that, players going overseas, and that's a whole different conversation that WNBA players are trying to fight. Obviously, raising salaries, raising wages, that kind of thing. But, during the off season, that's when a lot of people do go to Europe. And so I like the way it is. I like
Says
it.
The guy who just came back from Paris.
I know, from Paris. I was out in Paris. Oui, bonjour. But, no, I think the summer is perfect for WNBA because, like I said, by like June, I'm starving. I'm like, I need some events. I need some games to go to around here.
I wonder if there's any chance of one of the existing teams that's not doing well looking around and maybe moving. You don't see that a lot. We've seen it some in the WNBA. But I wonder if that's really at this point our last hope of getting a team again.
Yeah, but, with that being said, an hour and 15 minutes down the road is this new Golden State. That's putting them really close together.
I think Stephen A. said it's only like 40 minutes. Did you hear that during the
series? What kind of?
Yeah,
how's he driving? What kind of?
I know.
He got police escort,
right?
Right? Yeah. That's that police escort for Stephen A. right there.
All right, congratulations, Joe Lacob. We also have this basketball-wise in the Athletic today. John Hollinger, as we mentioned earlier, as you may know, John Hollinger, he's an analytics guy. He writes for the Athletic now, used to be a member of the Grizzlies analytics department. And he comes up with here, Kyle Draper, 5 teams I expect to fall short of expectations this year. 5 teams I expect to fall short of expectations. Got the Phoenix Suns in there.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
You and I disagree.
We disagree. I think the Suns will be right around that mark.
Interesting. The scientist agrees with me, but he says Oklahoma City, they will underperform.
But what was OKC's number that he had?
Their over under is 44.5, so he has them under 44.5.
There's some people that predict OKC can win 50 games. I was watching ESPN earlier today, and somebody's like, "Oh, OKC is the team to beat. They're going to be so great." I don't know about that, but I got them right around 44.5. I got them battling for that 6th seed or something like that. Yeah.
They won 40 last year, and they get Chet Holmgren now.
Yeah, and they're a better team. They're going to be a better team, yeah.
He's also got, for underperformers, the Orlando Magic 36.5 wins. I like the Orlando Magic.
I
think
like
they're headed
them
in the right direction.
Yeah.
And he's got, what a dreadful team, the Chicago Bulls under 37.5.
You talk about an underachieving team.
An underachieving city, sports-wise.
Yeah, sports-wise, and that's one of the great sports cities in our country, obviously, Chicago. But that roster, they have too much talent to be that sorry. You look at Dallas, and I look at their roster, and outside of Luka and Kyrie, I could see why they would struggle. They got 3. Zach LaVine's a stud. DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic, like, those guys are good players. They just don't win. I just don't understand. And maybe it's the Lonzo Ball injury. He was that point guard that would bring it all together.
There's no there. Something's doesn't.
Yeah.
What are you guys? What are you?
It's like making a dish with the best ingredients, but when you finally cook it and put it together, it tastes like blah. Something's missing.
Yep.
And it might be that point guard position. That's an underachieving team. I'm surprised they didn't make any moves this offseason.
Yeah.
Like try to trade a Vucevic, try to trade a Levine.
Yeah.
Go
they
out
seem
there.
to think, hey, we're good here.
Yeah, they're just running it back. It just doesn't make sense.
We're running that back.
Yeah.
John Hollinger, also has on his list of teams he expects to underachieve the Sacramento Kings, and we'll tell you why they're on that list when we come right back after a quick break. Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Who do they decide on for the Super Bowl?
What do you mean, halftime act?
Yeah. I know that Taylor Swift.
Yeah, turn them down, right?
At what point do people turn on Taylor Swift and be like, why don't you lower your prices? And I understand the whole Ticketmaster thing, but what about the merch? Like, legit, do you have to make $1 billion? Could you make 500 million? Could you?
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on Sactown Sports.
Model year-end pricing is back at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.
During the model year-end event, lower interest rates at Folsom Lake Honda make lower payments. It's no wonder why Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop. Come in today or check out our entire inventory online at folsomlakehonda.com.
Get an instant cash offer for your trade at folsomlakehonda.com. We'll buy your car whether you buy from us or not. Folsom Lake Honda is your one-stop Honda shop.
Folsom Lake Honda.
Go to folsomlakehonda.com.
Your one-stop Honda shop.
Get ready for the ultimate online auction experience. TMC Auction presents an exclusive event October 7th and 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., giving you a preview of top-notch items to elevate your construction projects. Bid on TMC Auction October 10th in Roseville for unused mini excavators, shipping containers, forklifts, construction tools, floor scrubbing machines, scissor lifts, toolboxes, and major brand appliances, all with warranties. TMC Auction, the name for unbeatable deals. Join our virtual auction extravaganza at tmcauction.com.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
Sactown Sports.
Sunday night, 49ers and Cowboys, and you've also got the Kings playing the Toronto Raptors Sunday evening in Vancouver. Kyle Draper, it looks like we are going to be able to watch the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings are going to be streaming it on their site, kings.com. Make sure you check it out. So that's one of those nights where you have both screens going, right? You got the Niners on TV, or you're listening to it on Sactown Sports 1140, or watching the Kings as well. And so I know where I'll be Sunday night.
What can we take out of this first preseason game? It seems like you are already ready to bury the Dallas Mavericks after they lost a game in Abu Dhabi.
No, and that's the thing, Whitey. You're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say I'm ready to bury them after watching one game. The eye test shows me the roster construction, and they're replaying it right now on NBA TV. They're not going to be a very good defensive team.
They cut it to 8.
Yeah, they cut it to 8, but, the scrubs are out there. I don't see Karl Anthony Towns out there anymore for Minnesota. But when you looked at what the Dallas Mavericks did last season, they added Kyrie, and they became a worse defensive team. And I know the Kings have their defensive deficiencies, if you will. But the Mavericks, they have really no interior defense. Their perimeter defense, Luka's not stopping anybody. No. Kyrie's not stopping anybody.
Luka Doncic.
Yeah, Doncic. No D in Doncic. It's Luka Doncic. You're right about that. So I'm down on them. As far as the Kings and what I'm looking for come Sunday against the Raptors, to me, it's all about Sasha. It is Sasha and Keegan. Those are the two guys I'm keeping my eye on because I know what I'm going to get from De'Aaron, Malik, all those guys, Sabonis, but I want to see that growth from Keegan Murray. And I want to see Sasha play in, an NBA game. We've only seen highlights. We've only seen him overseas in Europe. And so we hear about the quick release, being the great shooter that he is. I want to see it on an NBA stage.
I asked him one silly question. Well, probably a lot of silly questions, but one question was really silly. When Chris and I were talking to Sasha on Monday, and I asked him about, the crowds here, in Sacramento. And he kind of went, well, in Europe, it gets a little crazy. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a little different. They're setting off fireworks in the arena and everything. I had a buddy who played for Olympiacos out there in Greece. And the stories he had about the crowds, the officials, it's just, you talk about going into a hostile environment. Golden One gets loud. I get it. Boston gets loud, all these other places, but you don't fear for your life when you go into some of these arenas.
Yeah, he was nice about it, but he was kind of like, well, it's a little different in Europe.
Right.
John Hollinger in The Athletic has the Kings listed as one of the teams he thinks will underperform this year. That is, win fewer than 44 and a half games. The main reason is something he calls the plexiglass principle. Bottom line, it's just regression. There's an analytics law, if you will, a rule that says if a team improves one year and wins, they're probably going to go down the next year. That's one of the big reasons why he says the Kings are just mathematically destined to win fewer games this year. Not saying he's right, but that's what his argument is based on.
These guys should be banned from writing. The Hollinger, my guy Kevin O'Connor.
He's your guy.
And those are my guys, but this is the problem with the NBA right now. And I go back to some of the decisions that coaches make. They make decisions based on the numbers and what the stats, and instead of the eye test. And what about maybe the Kings just have a great medical staff that keeps the guys healthy? What if the Kings have guys that play through bumps and bruises and injuries that other guys may sit out? Domantas Sabonis could have missed,
25 games.
Right. Yeah. He could have missed, 2 to 3 months, something like that.
He decided to play through.
So let's not say the Kings, benefited from good health. No, their guys decided to play through that. Keegan Murray had a thumb injury also earlier,
which no one talked about.
Nobody talked about all season long. And I just think, Hollinger, respected basketball guy, Kevin O'Connor, respected. But these guys, the numbers don't back up what the Kings are really capable of. They don't ever come out in the Kings' favor. They're not a social, an analytics darling. Sacramento is. Golden State, meanwhile, yes, they are. But Sacramento, Domantas Sabonis is not an analytics dream. He's never going to be. The numbers aren't ever going to tell the full story. And I think the same thing with the entire Kings roster. So anytime, listen up, Kings fans. Anytime Hollinger writes something, anytime my guy Kevin O'Connor writes something, take it with a grain of salt. Don't get all upset and get your panties in the bundle, because these guys aren't going to come on to your side. They don't see what we see night in and night out. The Mike Brown effect, De'Aaron Fox just scratching the surface, Domantas Sabonis, who, mind you, the analytics say he's not a great player. Well, he's a 3-time All-Star and All-NBA caliber player. So forget what those guys say about the team. They don't know. They don't see what we see night in and night out. Results matter. The Kings won 48 games. They were the third best team in the Western Conference. They brought everybody back, and they added talent. So I'm expecting big. Don't get. Why did you even bring it up? Why did you bring the Ringer, the Athletic, Bleacher Report? Screw them.
Because it's comical. I agree with you. That's the best attitude. Last year, I remember when the team started well and a lot of people around the country did not respect the Kings. And a lot of fans were going nuts. And my advice was, so what? So what?
Right.
They'll find out they're wrong eventually. So I look at this not because I'm trying to get you angry, although there's an entertainment value to that, which I hadn't anticipated. But I mean, it's just it's funny, isn't it? It's like, For example, now maybe you think this is a great sentence. I question the wisdom behind this. Replacing Terrence Davis with Chris Duarte is likely a wash, but does give a bit more size on the wing, something that was in short supply with the bench. I like Terrence Davis, but Chris Duarte, there's a chance he is a significant upgrade in the areas where the Kings need to improve. Would you agree?
But that's what Hollinger said that. He said it's likely a wash, but Chris Duarte gives them the size and the athleticism. See, so he contradicts himself right there in the same. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think, that's the point I made yesterday. This roster is much better, much deeper, much more complete than it was a season ago. There's no dead weight on this roster. There's no, we can't play this guy because, he can't play. Like Terrence Davis, as much as I love TD, Mike Brown didn't trust him defensively out there, and that's why his minutes. Chris Duarte, that's not going to be an issue. Chris Duarte is a solid defender.
Yeah. He also says basically that the Kings spent so much money to keep Sabonis that they didn't have enough money to improve their depth, and that they were lucky last year that they were healthy because then their bench wasn't exposed. But now they haven't done enough to improve their depth, so that's going to be a problem. And I don't know how you can write that, because did you not see the moves that they made?
Right.
Remember, John
Hollinger,
all
depth moves, right?
Yes. John Hollinger, he knows what he's doing. But this is the guy, I think a couple years ago, the year the Warriors won the championship, I think he came out and said, they're going to win 38 games this year. So obviously, this is an inexact science.
Wow. And the thing that bothers me about John Hollinger, and I have to pull this up, he had a tweet earlier today, and it was a shot at Sacramento, and it really pissed me off. Like, I think there's something about Sacramento that he just doesn't like. It's something that bothers him. And so I'm looking for this tweet here. Give me a second here, White. He said something earlier about imagine being traded to a city like Sacramento or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really pissed me off. And it's just these guys have it in for Sacramento. And I think, what they're thinking of is the Sacramento of old.
Yep.
They haven't been to a game in the last year. They haven't been to a practice. They haven't talked to Mike Brown or the players or felt the vibe, the difference in this team. When I first came here, and I said this yesterday on the air, that Kings roster was a glorified G League team. Like, there were a lot of players that aren't even in the league anymore.
And that wasn't even all of the problem, right?
And that wasn't even all the problem, right?
And
exactly. And now you look at what Monty has done, what Mike Brown has done. This is a legitimate NBA roster that I think is going to compete, in the Western Conference, a second round or even a Western Conference Finals, potential NBA Finals kind of run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, okay, if you're going to make, observations as to why they may win fewer games, that's fair enough. And the whole thing of regression, okay, that's fair enough. But it's almost as if he didn't do his homework on what moves they actually made.
Right.
Oh, they didn't have any money to improve the bench, and the bench was bad last year, so look out. They're headed for problems. I think this is a swing and a miss. If this is a basketball shot, this is Hollinger blowing a layup right here. That's what he's doing, right? Badly.
Right. And I will say, he must know that Sacramento Kings fans, we're not going to take this line down. You know what I mean? Like we talked earlier in the crossover, some guys write things and have these rankings to get people riled up, to get people fired up. And we know this Sacramento Kings fan base, they're going to be fired up because we've been feeling disrespected for a long time now. And those days to me are over.
Yeah. I think the Kings bench is going to be one of their strengths this year. John Hollinger doesn't seem to agree. He should, I don't know, maybe get league pass or something. We should let him know that they're streaming some of the preseason games. You can actually watch them. We're going to take a quick time out here. When we come right back, first, Tony Pauquet, the Spurs' next French point guard, maybe Wembanyama. We'll get into that next year. And the Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
What's the latest with the San Francisco 49ers? Carmichael, Dave, and Jason Ross keep you up to date on all things red and gold during the Niners at 9 every weekday at 9 a.m. on Sactown Sports at SactownSports.com.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by the Arnold Law Firm.
I'm Dirk Fedorn in the KCRA 3 Weather Center, and this afternoon expect sunny skies with light winds coming from the north anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour. We are looking at temperatures warming into the 90s with a forecast high in downtown Sacramento of 92 degrees. Get the latest forecast on the KCRA 3 News and the KCRA 3 app.
The Arnold Law Firm has seen how a collision can turn anyone's life upside down in a heartbeat. So remember to be a little more alert on the road and stay safe. The Arnold Law Firm, providing real justice for you since 1975. Call 916-777-7777.
Did you know gas goes bad in as little as 30 days? Bad gas can cause rough starts, poor performance, or no starts at all. Stable, America's #1 fuel stabilizer, ensures quick and easy starts after storage. Stable's proprietary formula keeps fuel fresh for 2 years, outperforming competitors. Whether it's your car, truck, boat, lawnmower, leaf blower, weed trimmer, ATV, motorcycle, or anything else with an engine, when you store, start with Stable.
Quick Quack Car Wash is a proud partner of the Sacramento Kings and can't wait for the upcoming season. To celebrate, Quick Quack is giving one lucky duck a pair of lower-level tickets to the Kings home opener versus Golden State on October 27th. Enter for your chance to win this epic opening night showdown by going to SactownSports.com. Be there for the Kings versus Golden State, courtesy of Quick Quack, where you can wash your car all you want with an unlimited membership.
The City of Sacramento offers grass conversion rebates to help you replace your thirsty lawn with a naturally water-efficient landscape. Whether you own a home or business in Sacramento, you may be eligible. Learn more at sacwaterwise.com.
For 75 years, the Keys family from Naturewood Home Furnishings has been serving families just like yours and mine. Hi, I'm Frank LaRosa with Golf to Go. The Naturewood team takes great pride and significant effort to offer Northern California families a vast selection of home furnishings, most of which are made right here in this country. The kitchen table, which we purchased so many years ago, speaks to the enduring quality of the Naturewood product lines. We treasure memories made seated around that table with family and friends for birthday celebrations, school projects, and, well, many late-night meals when the day just got away from us. Naturewood has provided thousands with home furnishings that not only last for generations, but also lead to everlasting memories of cherished times. Visit Naturewood Home Furnishings now during their 75th anniversary sale and get started making your own brand of memories. Meet the Keys family at Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
If your Medi-Cal is ending, Cover California is here to help. Cover California is a service from the state that helps you get affordable health insurance. In many cases, at no cost to you, just like with Medi-Cal. We have quality health plans and will help you every step of the way to get the one that works for you and your family. So, if you're no longer eligible for Medi-Cal, check out Cover California. We'll keep you covered. Learn more at coveredca.com.
Hey guys, do you know what makes Revive Men's Health Sacramento different? You. Every Revive treatment and medication is personalized just for you. Revive has the experts that guys go to when their current treatment isn't working. They have a complicated medical condition, or they're just not happy with their daily performance. Since 2011, they've helped thousands of local men suffering with the symptoms of low T and ED. Their goal is simple: to get to the bottom of your issues and fix them. Your best performance requires more than generic ED medications or a low-dose testosterone booster at a low-ball price like you find online. Revive medications are custom compounded, affordable, and guaranteed to resolve your issues. Stop dealing with the symptoms of low T or ED. Book your free T-check and exam and save $199 today. Call 916-277-8599. That's 916-277-8599. Or visit us at ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines. Happy Thursday, I'm Simone, and these are your Sactown Sports headlines. After Wild Card Wednesday, we have 4 teams advancing into the divisional rounds of the MLB postseason. Rangers capped the Rays 7-1.
He struck him out looking, and the ball game's over.
Twins move forward with their 2-0 victory over the Blue Jays.
He struck the ball! Twins win! Twins win!
Diamondbacks strike down the Brewers 5-2.
And he struck him out swinging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will advance to the next round of the postseason.
And the Phillies hook the Marlins 7-1.
100 miles an hour, and Chisholm takes it for strike three. And the Phillies take the wild card series, sweeping Miami.
And tonight, Chicago Bears prowling for their first win of the season as they square up with the Commanders from FedEx Field. We've got pregame festivities jumping off at 4:30 with kickoff scheduled for 5:15 right here on Sactown Sports. I'm Simone. Those are your headlines. Welcome back in to The Drive, guys.
Your flagship station for the Beam Team, Sactown Sports.
Speaking of the Beam Team, 4 of 5 preseason games to be live streamed on Kings.com. So, yeah, you're wondering about the game this Sunday. Fans will be able to stream the Beam Team's tilts against the Raptors on the 8th, Lakers on the 11th, Warriors on the 18th only, and then the Jazz on the 19th. So you get to stream your Kings preseason action, catch up on the Beam Team. And then, Kyle, it almost seems like it's December 22nd here, and, opening night is Christmas, and it's like, it's never going to get here. It's never going to get here.
No, you're right. And I feel like we've been talking about the roster, the team, since last season ended. How long have we been talking about Sasha? It's been from June.
Well,
it's
least.
been months, right?
Yeah.
Like, because right after the season, Mike Brown and company went over there to visit him. And so here we are, like you said, December 22nd, just a few days before Christmas, where we get to see these guys for the first time.
By the way, good news for USA basketball today. Joel Embiid will represent Team USA at the 2024 Paris Olympics. So this is, I don't remember this happening before. It's almost as if he was an international free agent. Right. And there's a couple of countries he could have played for, and he chose the USA.
Yeah, he could have went to France or Cameroon, and he comes to USA, and I'm telling you, man, book it down. Team USA is going to get the gold. I'm watching ESPN earlier, and Brian Windhorst is like, I don't know if they'll be the favorites. Trust me. What? If they get Steph Curry, LeBron, Durant, Tatum, like if our best of the best go, you got to be heavy favorites, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Don't know if they'll be favorites.
Right. That's Windhorst just playing that role. So.
French contingent could be a pretty good team, right? Although once they were very disappointing. I almost said once again, but they were very disappointing in the FIBA.
Yeah, in the World Cup, right? Yeah, but they'll be playing on home soil.
Right, exactly.
And they'll have the home court advantage come next year.
Victor Wembanyama, speaking of French things and French players, there's buzz out of San Antonio, maybe you've heard some of this, that he might be playing like 5 positions, which would mean he would be playing some point. It just goes without saying that I'm playing sometimes the same role as Trey Jones, sometimes the same as Zach Collins, sometimes the same as Devin Vassell, he said. So, the Spurs are emphasizing positionless basketball, and there's talk of Wemby being a little point Wemby.
When I first read the headline and saw the topic that we were going to talk about, I was like, this is a recipe for disaster. All you got to do is put a smaller guy, pick his pocket. I mean, he's so tall, right? But then I dig deeper, and what they're talking about is positionless basketball. They're not talking about him bringing it up, setting up the offense, like Mo Cheeks back in the day, or, Kevin Johnson or Spud Webb or somebody like that back in the day. It's get the ball up, and wherever you are, that's how we're running the offense. And so it's sort of like, just because you're the 5-man, you got to know where the point guard's supposed to be and what your responsibilities are. And so good for them. They still won't make the playoffs, but good for them.
How good do you think they could be? I know the consensus is, they'll be better, but it's going to take them a while, especially in the West, before they're any good.
Yeah, I think they'll be more competitive what they were last season, but I was down there at Summer League, and I got to see Victor up close and personal, and you saw flashes, and I think that's what we'll see to start the NBA season. You'll see some flashes, but you'll also see some nights where he struggles, a 3 for 15 or something like that. The one thing that he'll provide, though, right from day one is defense, obviously. Even his ability to switch out on guards because of his length. He may get beat, but he'll be able to recover because he's so long and athletic. But I don't think he's a Tim Duncan or a David Robinson that changes a franchise overnight. I think it's going to take a few years. Some people are predicting that he might be an all-star or something. No, I think he's a ways away from that.
He's going to get shoved around a lot.
Yeah, a lot. He's going to get – and here's the thing. As we know in the NBA, and you know this as well, Whitey, guys are going to be looking to posterize this guy. Guys are reading everything, seeing all the Wembanyama hype. Mm-hmm. And once they take the floor, they're going to be looking at going at him. Barbecue chicken. They're going to feast on this guy. And so he's going to be good. He's going to be a great player eventually. I'm giving him 2 years before I really see the Wembanyama that, can be a franchise-altering player.
Earlier you were talking about how you have to play 65 games to be eligible for the awards, but did you know that does not apply to Rookie of the Year?
I was wondering that because there was some discussion with the way Pop coaches, the load management, things like he's the franchise player. You want to bring him along slowly. Could he only play 60 games or something like that this season?
I don't know. I guess they decided a young player. It's up to the coaches. I don't know why. But
is this the Victor Wembanyama rule? You know what I mean? Because they knew he was going to San Antonio, and you say, you know what? But I think it's an uphill battle for him to be Rookie of the Year. I don't think it's a lock that he's the Rookie of the Year.
I don't think it's a lock, but I know, I was on with Chris for weeks, and he has Scoot. I think he has Scoot. There's a lot of great prospects, but I think the league wants so badly for him to be Rookie of the Year that I think he's got a real edge in that regard.
He's going to be great, but there's a guy in Oklahoma City who's been sitting out all year, Chet Holmgren, who is a highly touted player, looked like a monster, and he's going to be playing for a competitive team, a winning team. And so I think Chet Holmgren, and I would have to look this up, but for my money, Chet Holmgren, I think he's going to be front runner for this Rookie of the Year. I like him as Rookie of the Year.
You put the two of those guys together on a scale, what do you got? Wembanyama and
when they play here, like one of Kyle,
they can't open the doors at the one end of the Golden One, or they'll just be
about 250 combined soaking wet. No,
that's okay.
But
they'll pay for that as rookies.
Yeah, they'll pay for that as rookies. And one thing I saw from Chet Holmgren that I would like to see from Wembanyama. Chet Holmgren has a nastiness to him, I think, that people don't understand, a toughness. When he's driving, he's looking to posterize you. When he blocks your shot, he's flexing on you a little bit too. Wembanyama seems just like a nice, humble kind of kid. Once you get in the NBA, those dudes are looking to eat you for lunch. Right. And so I would like to see a little toughness from Wembanyama as well.
Now, maybe I'm misunderstanding you. I agree with what you're saying about Chet Holmgren, and I'm really high on the Thunder this year, but you're not as high on them, right? Or did I?
No, I like the Thunder. I don't think they're going to win 50 games like somebody I was looking at earlier was saying, but they have the pieces. I still think they're a year, maybe two away from, really making some noise. And this, I find it interesting, and I was thinking about this earlier, Whitey. Sam Presti, the GM out there at OKC, they have assets that they can trade and go for it right now. Yes. But he's been reluctant to do that. And so my thinking is he's, trying to build this homegrown squad so that when the Denvers come sliding back, the Lakers fall off, Warriors fall off, who's that next team? And OKC is positioning itself to be that next team to, be a perennial championship kind of contender.
I saw them, as I'm sure you did, most fans did, a number of times last year where they were in games on the road where you wouldn't have thought they'd have been in them late. And a lot of times, more often than not, they failed, but they seemed to improve the more experience they had with those situations. Right. And then they won 40 and they got into the play-in. So I thought they're a little ahead of schedule. And then you add Holmgren. I think they have a chance. 50 is a lot, but I think they could win 45 plus. I don't have a hard time imagining that at all this year.
No, and I 100% agree with you.
And I like Josh Giddey, the way he runs.
Yeah, I forgot about Josh Giddey too. I mean, they have so much young talent. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a top 10 player in the NBA. You talk about, guys that'll be in the MVP conversation. I think he'll get some MVP votes. And, the thing about the Thunder too, they're such a young team that I think the Josh Giddeys, the Shays, there won't be any load management or things like that. Like, they play hard every single night. They don't take the regular season for granted, like some of these veteran teams, like the Clippers, like the Warriors to an extent. And so they're going to be a tough out. I just think, man, when you look at the Western Conference, and I said it yesterday, I think the Grizzlies probably take a step back just because I don't know about their hunger level going into the season. But OKC will take a step forward. I think New Orleans with a healthy Zion, that's the X factor in the Western Conference. That's the team that can be a contender. Because remember,
go any which way.
Up until December when Zion was playing, they were the second best team in the Western Conference. They had the second best record. Zion got hurt and they fell off quickly. Memphis held on the rest of the way, but New Orleans is a threatening team as well.
Well, yesterday we talked about teams that scare you in the West, teams that don't from the Kings standpoint. And the reason I have OKC on that list as teams that are a team that's going to have to be reckoned with is because you got so many teams in the West, as we know, that are veteran teams, and the Kings are younger and ascending, and you got, the Lakers are kind of hanging on, they're good, and the Warriors kind of hanging on, and Phoenix has a lot of veterans, but OKC is another young team that's got that really vertical trajectory. That's a little scary.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their roster now. We know about Shea. We mentioned Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, but let's not also forget about the Jalen Williams brothers. They're different guys and not related, but Jalen Williams and Jalen Williams. So they have some talent right there, man. Pokashevsky's good. I mean, they have some young talent. Isaiah Joe had a tremendous season last year. And
I think they're learning to play the right way as a team.
Right. They're playing, and the way Mark Daigneault coaches them, he's a tremendous coach. They're going to be a tough game night in and night out.
When we come right back, what are you looking forward to seeing the most in the new NBA season? It's Drive Guys Sactown Sports.
Trying to find out where to catch your favorite team's games?
Are you a fan of the Kings, Niners, and the NFL? Well, Sactown Sports has you covered.
Touchdown! San Francisco!
It's all on his shoulders. Rocks. He fires for the win. He's got the triple.
Catch all your Kings, Niners, and NFL games all year long on Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com.
Sacramento weather is brought to you by Quick Quack Car Wash.
I'm Mark Finan in the KCRA 3 Weather Center. Skies will stay clear through the night tonight, with overnight lows only dropping down to the low 60s. Tomorrow will be warmer than today. Sunshine, light winds with highs in the mid-90s. Get the latest forecast on the KCRA 3 News and the KCRA 3 app.
There's just something about fall that makes me want to enjoy every moment. The changing leaves, the pumpkin patches, and you know what else won't last? Quick Quack's new pumpkin spice scented car wash. Text SPICE to 41284 to get 50% off any wash.
Bring smiles to all when shopping online with Dell Technologies Gift Guide. Whether it's for the artist, the entrepreneur, the student, or the streamer, you'll find the perfect gift for everyone on your list. Dell.com/gift guide makes gifting easy with a carefully curated selection of our best tech. Shop now to explore our innovative PCs like the XPS 13 laptop, powered by the latest Intel Core processors, plus this season's top accessories. Visit Dell.com/gift guide today to get a jump on your holiday gift list. That's Dell.com/gift guide.
The pandemic is over, but COVID-19 is here to stay. In fact, it's still among the top 5 leading causes of death in the U.S., just after heart disease and cancer. So this fall, stay up to date with the latest COVID-19 vaccines, just like you do with the flu, because you've got no time for 19. The vaccine may not be for everyone. Please consult with your doctor. Brought to you by Moderna.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave, and I recognize, just like my friends at American Energy Heat and Air, that your time is important. And that's why shopping for a new air conditioner is now easier with American Energy Heat and Air's online quoting tool. All you have to do is go to AmericanEnergyAir.com and get an instant quote right now. It'll help you determine what system you're going to need to get. It'll provide the best pricing options, all from the comfort of your home without having to have somebody come to your home. You know how annoying that is? They come in and everybody there is so sweet and nice, but how much better is it to be able to get it on demand? Visit AmericanEnergyAir.com. Check out how easy it can be. Or if you want to give them a call and talk through what your needs are, 916-520-9990. That's 916 520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Ready for a sizzling football season? Take your game day parties to the next level with Napoleon Prestige Grills from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Fire up the grill and score big with mouthwatering burgers, juicy steaks, and finger-licking wings. Napoleon Prestige Grills bring the heat and come complete with a lifetime warranty. Get your ultimate game day companion today. Visit your local Green Acres Nursery and Supply and elevate your tailgate experience with Napoleon Prestige Grills. Green Acres Nursery and Supply, your one-stop shop for grilling greatness this football season. Visit idategreenacres.com for the store near you. Game on!
Your new home for 49ers football in the 916 Sactown Sports.
Tell you what, the Oklahoma City Thunder getting a lot of love on the YouTube chat here. It's Whitey Gleason, Kyle Draper. Yeah, Patrick Donaldson says Chet just has to stay healthy, and Eric S. says he's gained quite a bit of muscle given his frame in college. Santa Clara Williams getting some love from Eric S. So, yeah, the OKC Thunder garnering some much-deserved respect here as we get ready.
And rightfully so. They're a
season.
young, up-and-coming team. They're doing it the right way. They're building something, letting their young guys develop. Now you add in Chet Holmgren as well. And so, yeah, they're going to be fun to watch. You know, there are certain teams that are league pass teams that, you know what, I'm going to stay up to watch, or I'm going to make sure. OKC is one of them.
Yeah, and isn't it great, especially from a small market standpoint, to see a franchise that, I mean, they had Russ, and they had Harden, and they had Durant, and they went to the finals, and they almost beat the Warriors to get to the finals, and then Durant leaves, and there's just, yeah, I know that Russ stayed there a while, but, you know, there's like, when Durant left, there's like just a gaping crater there, and they've still been able to figure their way out through all that, and here they are again with a young up-and-coming team. It's really great to see a small market team deal with that so well.
Yeah, and they haven't, you know, sort of you look at some of the other teams that have struggled, like Detroit. They're perennial, like in the lottery year in and year out, and there's no hope. But there's always been hope with OKC. You know, they trade Paul George away, get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, it looks like they won that trade, right? As much as I love Paul George, you know, they won that trade to get Shai. And so there's hope, at least in OKC, a small market team, unlike a Detroit or somewhere like that.
Yeah, the Kings are clearly a league pass team too, aren't they?
Yes.
It's hard for us to say because we're biased, but I think they clearly are an up-and-coming, very watchable team because of the way they play.
Yeah, the Kings were the best story in the NBA last season. And, you know, I had friends in Boston that would text me, you know, I get off work from doing the Kings games. Hey, man, just watch your Kings. They're so much fun to watch. They play the right way. They're so enjoyable. So the Kings are a league pass team. They score a whole lot of points, and that's always, you know, fun to watch. Hopefully the defense comes along a little better, but the Kings are in that mix. OKC's in that mix. Who else in the West is in that mix? Like a must-see league pass kind of team, right? That's tough, right?
Well, yeah, I want to see Phoenix, but I don't know that they're, you know,
right there, but they're
young and up and coming.
Yeah, they're on national TV all the time. You know,
Houston should be further along in that regard. I don't think they are, but they should be with the picks they've had.
If Zion plays New Orleans,
yes,
they'll be a fun team to watch.
Big if though,
big if. Yeah.
To your point about how exciting the Kings are, this had never happened before. You remember I'm sure you remember the 176-175 win over the Clippers.
Yep.
That same night, the Warriors were playing, and I was at the Warrior game. They were playing Houston, and after the game, we're waiting for Steve Kerr to come out. And two writers, it was Anthony Slater, and he's watching the Kings on his phone, and Tim Kawakami's like, hey, how's the game going? And I was realizing I've never seen this, you know, in a Warrior media setting where two very prominent writers, and they're watching the Kings.
Yes.
I'd never seen that before.
That shows you how far we've come, right?
Yes,
this is a new day for Sacramento, and that's why we say they're must-watch TV. You got NBA TV out at Media Day on Monday. You got Sirius XM Radio broadcasting live, too. Like, it's hip to be a Kings fan right now. The Beam, you know, it could have been corny had we lost a lot of games. You know, if we came out with the Beam 2 seasons ago, like, what is that? You know, you lit it, 25 times? Like, that's but when you win, you got this cool new thing. And so, the buzz is there, man, for Sacramento.
What are you looking forward to seeing the most this year in this NBA season? Obviously, we've got things locally. We've got big picture things. Wemby is certainly one of the guys on my list.
I'm looking forward to seeing let me start out East. I think the East is going to be a dogfight in terms of Milwaukee and Boston. I want to see, does Drew Holiday fit in seamlessly with what the Celtics have? I want to see if Dame Lillard and Giannis can each average 30 points per game. Like, how are you going to stop
Stephen A says that's top duo in the NBA right now. I'd say can we wait till they play a game?
What are they then? And we talked about this yesterday. Are they like an NA, not applicable right now? Like they can't even be in the conversation right now?
I mean, they haven't done anything. That's all. They literally have not done a thing. Right? That's a fact. That is an absolute fact.
So can they not be in this conversation? Is that what you're telling me?
They could be one of the league's top duos once the season starts. So far, they haven't done
So they're like on the kids' table where Tatum and Brown and all these other duos,
they're not
even at the table
Dinner
yet.
hasn't started yet.
Well, when do we play Milwaukee? I want to see. Oh my gosh, you talk about a league pass team. I know they're going to be on national TV, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Bucks.
I am too.
I want to see the Bucks.
I'm one of those people that thinks that they're going to be hurt a little bit defensively more than they realize. And
Defense is overrated. Defense is overrated.
Defense is one of the big reasons they won as many games as they did last year. They were one of the top defensive rating teams in the league.
Exactly.
So they're not going to be this year.
They won't be, but their offense is going to be better.
Sacramento Kings are going to be seeing the Milwaukee Bucks on January 14th over there.
I got to wait I tell you what, by that time, they're going to be rolling too. That's 2-3 months into the season. By that time, they're going to be scary to watch. Dude, clip this, Simone. This guy, I tell you, man, this guy. I want to go back to the defense conversation too, because, when you look at defensive stats, last season,
which you apparently don't.
No, I don't. I'm trying to tell you why defense is a little overrated when it comes to being a championship level team. I'm pulling up the stats right now because I don't think Denver was that great of a defensive team.
I think they were mid-15th, literally.
Right, exactly.
Rating.
They were middle of the pack in defensive rating, Whitey, but they were tremendous. They had an unstoppable force in Jokic. And so that's what I think Milwaukee is going for. Sacrifice a little defense to make a great offense.
Well, you're right. I mean, the game has changed to the point where last year was the most prolific offensive season ever, and it's been trending that way. More and more threes every year. And you're right. Then we see it. I mean, the bottom line is the team that won the championship was 15th. So I get that. And I think that's why maybe some of the talk of the Kings' defensive problems, maybe a little of that is overrated. I don't think so, but I hope so. And I think maybe it is. And I think they're basing everything game plan wise on that fact.
Yeah, and you were right about Denver being 15th in rating. And this goes back to what Hollinger was talking about. Like, if Hollinger said their defense concerns me, or, they are not a great, okay, I can respect that. But whether it's Hollinger, whether it's the Ringer, Bleacher Report, they're making points that really aren't even there. They're making abstract points instead of pointing to something black and white. They were bad defensively. I don't trust their defense this year. As great as their offense was last season, I think it's going to take a step back. Now, if you say that, I respect that more than some of the stuff Hollinger and O'Connor and those guys are putting out.
Okay, here is one thing Hollinger said to that point, and I agree with you, but he did say Sasha Vezenkov adds a slow but crafty shooter who could further juice what was the league's top regular season offense a year ago, ... and could also make a bad defense even worse. Now, that was one of my main concerns when they were talking about bringing him over. Then you see him play and you see the way he plays and you recognize, I know you talked to Monty about it. You had the interview with Monty and he addressed this.
You keep bringing that up.
Well, I'm giving you credit because not everybody gets to do a one-on-one with Monty McNair. But we talked with Monty about it too. The fact that Vezenkov, with his rebounding is going to help them defensively if he rebounds as well in the NBA as he did. Because obviously the vast majority of successful defensive possessions end in what? You get the rebound.
Yeah, the rebound.
So if he's a good rebounder,
that's
will
important.
help. Yeah, it is. And also, a lot of the Kings were saying he's a better defender than people think.
Yeah, and to the point of defense, we've seen the Kings step up defensively, Whitey, when need be. And the issue they had against the Warriors wasn't defense. It was rebounding and shooting. You add a Vezenkov, who we just talked about his rebounding. That helps you out. The Kings have the personnel to be a much better defensive team than what we saw. And I know that's a priority for Mike Brown, obviously. But it's not
it's
like
a priority for everybody, right?
But it's not like they got to go out there and get 8 Bruce Browns or go out there and get Marcus Smarts and everything. They have the personnel that can be better defensively. I just think, you know what? Offense is a lot more fun, man. And if you're winning and you're, playing, scoring a lot of points, that becomes your identity.
With all the moves they made, Duarte may be the exception. I kind of was waiting for them to do something that addressed the defensive needs. Some things, like I get Vezenkov, Duarte, maybe, but JaVale McGee, I think, is the guy that he could actually make them significantly better. He's not going to play, 30 minutes or even 20 minutes, but I think he can improve them in that regard.
No, I think so, and he's a veteran. He's a big, I would have liked Nerlens Noel to stick around as well, and let's see what he could have given them defensively as well, but, they decided to let him go.
We're going to swing back to the NFL when we come right back. The Trey Lance factor, why the Niners say meaningless. Next year, Drive Guys, Sactown Sports.
Can Mike Brown build on last season's Coach of the Year award? Can the Kings exceed 48 wins?
We will be better prepared to make the run that we expect to run come next playoff.
Tune into every Kings game this season on Sactown Sports and SactownSports.com.
All new spring deals are here at Lowe's. Start planting your garden this weekend with Bonnie 11.8-ounce vegetables. Buy 4 for $10. Plus, liven up your patios and decks with fresh blooms. Select 1.5-gallon hanging baskets or 2 for $20. Lowe's knows spring. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 5/17. In-store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. While supplies last, excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Does your dog leave frowny piles of poo around the yard? Do you know that a solid poo is one of the best indicators of your dog's gut health? Supreme Source Super Premium Dog Food is made with organic super seaweed and other powerful antioxidants, supporting a healthy digestive system. Real protein is always the first ingredient, plus a blend of essential vitamins and minerals that help support your dog's overall health and well-being. Do their digestion a solid, literally. Find Supreme Source Premium Dog Food at Safeway, Save Mart, and Winco, or a local grocery store near you.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes, the IRS has greenlighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship and is now accessible through Tax Help USA. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. For this free information, call 800-948-9401. 800-948-9401. That's 800-948-9401.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Tape it on the local level. Live and local, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sactown Sports. Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
Happy Thursday, I'm Simone, and these are your Sactown Sports headlines. After Wild Card Wednesday, we have 4 teams advancing into the divisional rounds of the MLB postseason. Rangers capped the Rays 7-1.
He struck him out looking, and the ball game's over.
Twins move forward with their 2-0 victory over the Blue Jays.
He struck him out! Twins win! Twins win!
Diamondbacks strike down the Brewers 5-2.
And he struck him out swinging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will advance to the next round of the postseason.
And the Phillies hooked the Marlins 7-1.
100 miles an hour, and Chisholm takes it for strike 3. And the Phillies take the wild card series, sweeping Miami.
And tonight, Chicago Bears prowling for their first win of the season as they square up with the Commanders from FedEx Field. We've got pregame festivities jumping off at 4:30 with kickoff scheduled for 5:15 right here on Sactown Sports. I'm Simone. Those are your headlines. Welcome back in to the Drive Guys.
We were just talking about things we're looking forward to seeing in the NBA season. We'll get back to the 49ers in just a moment. I got to ask you, Kyle. I forgot to ask you about this. Yeah. I know you're somewhat limited by your professional duties here, but on your list of things you're looking forward to in the NBA, how high on that list is the in-season tournament?
I'm wondering, is that going to be a week off, or is that going to be? Are we going to be in Vegas? Like, you know what? I still don't understand the in-season tournament fully. I still don't like. Which teams are you going to be playing? Like, are you going to be? I don't know. I plan my life around this schedule.
You can't right
and
now.
I can't. That week, I'm like in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm going to be out of town, in town, Vegas. I have no idea. So I'm not I'm just a little confused by the in-season tournament at this moment.
I think I know what you mean, because you have the games set up, and then there's a week there where you're either going to be playing in the in-season tournament or you're not, right? And they can't lay that out yet because they don't know. And initially I thought, there's going to be some days off in there, but I think there's going to be games still. You just have to wait and see what they are.
Yeah.
So you can't make any plans.
So I wonder in the league office if they're thinking, all right, let's say for the Kings example, let's say they don't make the semifinals of the in-season tournament. Then there's a group of games, whether it's Lakers, Suns, then they'll play one of those teams. Like, they have to have an idea where if this team doesn't make the in-season tournament semifinals and go to Vegas, then we'll have them play X. You know, you can't say, all right, all of a sudden, let's play Boston a third time. Like, it has to be against a Western Conference team, probably a division team. I'm just a little confused about how they scheduled that last week.
Given the fact that you totally dodged my question, I'm guessing you're not a big fan of the in-season.
Oh, did I dodge it?
I don't know when it's going to be.
You like how I did that, right? You like that's years of broadcasting experience, man. I might run for office after this.
I asked Sasha about that, and I understand these guys. They can't very well come out and say, I don't like it. But I think he's honestly genuinely excited about it because his face kind of lit up.
Yeah.
So, we have those in Europe. I like that.
Yeah, Mike Brown is a fan of it also. He says, you know what? Whether it's in-season tournament, summer league, whatever it is, if there's a chance to win a trophy, we're going for it. And so I think it sort of sets the tone, mindset that, you know what? These games mean something. They're important. November games all of a sudden actually carry a little more weight than before.
I think I'd love it if I was a coach for that reason.
Yes.
I got a reason to get my team to poke them a little
Get
bit.
them fired up.
Another carrot to dangle in front. Let's go, guys. These games matter.
Yeah, and JaVale McGee was saying, heck, a possible trip to Vegas? Count me in. So he's going to be going all out. JaVale might average 30 and 20 on those in-season tournament games. Watch out. So he's excited, too.
Yeah, I'm already on record as saying they're going to beat Atlanta to win the tournament. The Kings beat Atlanta.
You got Atlanta in
yeah.
You think, why do you say that? Because is Atlanta the kind of team that would go all out and win something like that?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Are they
right. And, teams aren't at their best that time of year yet.
Right.
The Kings, I think, will have a big advantage given that they have so much continuity. They're going to be further along than some of these teams.
Yeah.
Even a team like your beloved Suns. It's going to take them a while to figure things out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they could be a great team, but they probably won't be in November.
If the Kings do win the in-season tournament, to me, remember when they won the Summer League tournament, everybody was making a big deal. I'm like, Summer League, a few years ago. But if they win the in-season tournament, I think that does say something. I think that does mean something.
I agree. We'll see.
But it depends on who they face. What if they face Detroit in Vegas? But then it's like, all right, Detroit people probably think I'm just crapping on them. They're a bad team, so that's why I keep bringing them up. But if they beat Detroit,
I don't think you need to apologize
but
for
if
that.
They beat,
you made your point very well.
Exactly. If they beat Boston in Vegas for the championship, then that carries some weight, I think. That means a little more.
But what if, this has nothing to do with the Kings, but from the NBA standpoint, what if here we are, it's the finals of the in-season tournament. It's the Houston Rockets against the Detroit Pistons, right? That would set back their efforts.
That would be awful. Yeah, that would be like... low ratings. What does it mean? Especially for two teams that might not even make the playoffs.
Right.
So what? Who cares?
But it's certainly possible.
Yeah, you're right about that.
All right, we got two teams that are probably going to make the playoffs colliding Sunday night at Levi Stadium. Hear the game right here on Sactown Sports, the 49ers and the Cowboys. Trey Lance is with the Cowboys now, so there's been a lot of talk about well, Trey Lance is going to be able to tell the Cowboys all about everything the 49ers do. You think this is a factor in any way, shape, or form?
Zero, zilch, nada. The only thing that might be a factor is the terminology, not the actual plays. Like Kyle Shanahan said, You can see the plays. You got tons of film out there.
I know.
Tapes of years of games, like you can see. But maybe the terminology, if you're the Niners, you switch it up this week. Just so, some of the play calling is a little different so that, the defense is not tipped off. But I don't think, and Trey Lance, I hate to say it, he didn't have a grasp of what they were doing anyway when he was the quarterback. So,
Trey, what does that mean?
I don't know. I could never figure that one out.
You're asking the wrong guy, Coach. That's why I'm not there anymore.
That's messed up. That's messed up, Whitey. You're wrong for that.
You said it. I was just helping you out. I was just pushing you over the goal line.
Right? Yeah. Sure, Trey, tell us everything you want. Go ahead. Tell them whatever you want. So I don't think it'll be a factor at all come Sunday.
Kyle said, and you mentioned this, you can see the plays on tape. You can explain what we look at and stuff like that, which usually you can when you stack up a lot of tape over the years, and we've been at it here for a while. So hopefully he's talking to them all the time and making them focus totally on that instead of the simple stuff of watching the tape.
Exactly. And the Niners are so good that you know what they're going to do. You're going to get a healthy dose of CMC. You're going to get some Debo in a lot of different positions. Ayuk's going to try to stretch the field, and you still can't stop it. That's what it comes down to. You know their plays. You got the film. You got the tape. But can you stop it?
Mm-hmm. Bosa said, and you know how Bosa's just kind of, and it was just straight face. They have Trey, so I'm sure they have an idea of our plan. It's like, yeah. So the 49ers aren't worried about that at all. Yeah. I would think there's maybe a few things where Trey could talk to their defensive coordinator, Coach Quinn, and just tell him, Brock Purdy loves these throws.
Yeah.
And when we played you guys, this really worked well for us. I mean, maybe, but even that's kind of a stretch.
Yeah, I think that's a stretch. And, he does have some of that institutional knowledge, from playing, from watching in the playoffs last season, obviously. Maybe he does know, like you said, the throws that, Brock Purdy, can't make, let's say, or the kind of pressure that Brock Purdy hates, like, if you send two guys from this side or whatever, something small like that. But it's not like Trey was a huge part of, years and years of game planning and what the Niners did. He was the starting quarterback for 3 years or something. I don't know if he knows how Kyle Shanahan even thinks. Like right. He hasn't had enough time in the system and to fully understand it. And so I don't think it'll be an issue at all.
That's interesting. I think that's one of the big reasons Kyle drafted him. I remember talking to Jennifer Lee Chan and asked her that question when they drafted Trey Lance, like, why, this guy doesn't have much experience. And her theory was that Kyle wanted a young quarterback who was so raw that he would learn everything about pro football through Kyle Shanahan's eyes. Everything. Obviously, that didn't work out, and it was a little risky. But here's the thing. When they played in the playoffs, Dallas did a good job against the 49ers offense. It was 19-12.
Yeah,
and they got a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. And he was, he hasn't had a bad game, but he wasn't great. So it's not like the 49ers blew him out and they got to try to figure out how to stop him. They already did a good job of slowing down the 49er offense, and they lost anyway.
No, you're right about that. And so, that was a low-scoring game, a 19-13 game, like you said. I expect this one to be, a much higher scoring game. One, the Niners defense hasn't hit its stride yet. This time last year, the Niners defense was unquestioned the best defense in the entire NFL. They were playing lights out. They're struggling a little bit, especially against the pass. And so I think this is going to be a much higher scoring game than what we saw in the playoffs.
It depends how you slice it as far as the pass rush, and I'm sure you've seen the numbers. The 49ers aren't getting as many sacks, but they're getting more pressure. So, that cuts both ways. Like, wow, they're not getting the quarterback. Yeah, but they're getting in there. Obviously, sacks are better than pressures.
Yeah. And I'm looking at that game, the box score from that game last year against the Cowboys.
And I said 19-12.
Yeah, 19-12.
Oh, was it 19-12?
Pro Football Reference has 19-12. Yeah, okay. I thought it was 13 for some reason, but Pro Football Reference has 12, so I'm going to go with them right now. But I'm looking at, Dak Prescott, 23 of 37, 206 yards, 2 interceptions.
Yep, there you go.
That's the game right there. And so to me, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. If Brock Purdy has a clean sheet like we've seen, the Niners win. If Dak Prescott throws interceptions, the Niners win. But if it's reverse, That's the Cowboys' only chance, I think. So Micah Parsons has to get in there and make Brock Purdy's life miserable.
Don't you think this is pretty basic football stuff? But if you're the Cowboys, you hope to slow down McCaffrey to the point where then the 49ers have to throw. That's the only way they can move the ball, and then you can get pressure on Brock Purdy, and maybe you get lucky and you tip a couple.
But how do you do that? How do you do that? Because, and I've said it a couple of times, the Niners' run blocking this season has been phenomenal. Like some of the holes that CMC gets, and the Cowboys talked about this, the way he's running too, he's running aggressive. He's getting downhill.
He got a day off yesterday, by the way. I know we were talking about his wear and tear.
And well earned, right? Well,
yes.
And I expect a heavy dose of him this week because, the Cowboys, if I'm correct, their run defense is not that good. Like their pass defense is better than their run defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They did do a decent job against the 49ers run game in that playoff game. But and we've mentioned this a million times, Arizona ran for 222 yards against them. So
think about that.
And then the other thing with the 49ers is they have so many different ways of beating you. And like we were talking about how Dallas, if they drop a safety to stop the run game, let's say they have success with that. Okay, then you got man coverage and you got Ayuk and you got Debo and you got Kittle against man coverage. So, it's the old pick your poison thing.
And you said yesterday you expect Kittle to have a big game. I expect Debo to have a big game. I mean, Debo's only a couple of years removed, from that tremendous season where he was doing everything for the Niners. You can't single cover that guy. I think he's going to have a field day also.
Here's one thing I'd never heard before. Micah Parsons was talking about CMC, and he described him when he's got the ball like tucked away, and he said that's the Dr. Dr. Pepper position or Dr.
Pepper,
Yeah. And they asked him, what do you mean? And he said, I don't know. That's what he said in special teams, that's what we call it. When you really have two fingers and you got to tuck away.
You got to tuck.
You got it in a Dr. Pepper pose. But I've never heard that before, and I can't understand what it means.
And he doesn't even know, right? Exactly. But, the way CMC's running, man, it's going to take a lot to get the ball out of his hands.
When we come right back, as we take you up to Thursday Night Football, is the Bears coach coaching for his job tonight? And why are Chicago teams so bad? Next on The Drive, Sactown Sports.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sactown Sports. Get the latest on equipment, area courses, people who play the great game, and plenty of good conversations about golf. It's the Golf to Go Hour every week with Frank LaRosa on Sactown Sports. Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop, America's most awarded golf facility. Nature Wood Home Furnishings, where it's all about choices and always about quality.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave letting you know Capital Casino, Sacramento's #1 poker room and primetime football location is back. Cap Casino giving away $500 per game in high hand bonuses for every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night primetime game, offering the best food, best service, and the best action with the most variety of games in the region and conveniently located in downtown Sacramento. Check it out. Capital Casino. And as always, please remember to gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, get 15% off select gelled Win windows and patio doors. And there's more. Earn 3 times MVP's bonus points on select Klein tools. Visit us in-store or online for more deals you can't beat. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Offer valid 10/5 through 10/11. Selection varies by location. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 10/27.
The only station in Sacramento giving you local sports coverage from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sactown Sports.
Sure, but sometimes we need your help figuring out what's going on. This is what Micah Parsons said about Christian McCaffrey. Christian, he's always mindful of the ball. He's always high and tight. He's always in Dr. Pepper mode. He's just really good. And someone said, what's that? I'm not sure. It's just in special teams meetings. That's what we call it when a guy has the ball tucked away, Dr. Pepper mode. And then you can search it. And it appears that no one knows where it came from. So That's one of our football mysteries we hope to solve this year.
Yeah.
Where did Dr.
Do other teams have that kind of
I don't know.
terminology? Like, do we need to ask Kyle if he knows what Dr. Pepper mode is?
We're going to find out one way or the other. And then we're going to find out also Sunday where the 49ers are right now. I think everyone expects them to win, probably comfortably. It'd be a pretty big dang deal if they don't.
No, it's a huge game, and I do think it's bigger, obviously, for the Cowboys than the Niners. I think the Niners, we know who they are. We know really the regular season is just a tune-up. They'll be judged by what they do in the postseason. I think the Cowboys are looking for a little respect. I think they're looking, to stamp themselves among the elites in the NFC. A statement game, so much talk about the Eagles and Niners. The Cowboys are like, hey, over here, what about us? We're just as good. And now they have a chance to prove that on Sunday.
So if the Cowboys and 49ers is a 10 on the watchable scale, what is the Commanders and the Bears coming up here on Sactown Sports?
Because it's the only football game, NFL game today, I'm going to grade it on the curve. Like, if it was a full slate of NFL games, it'd probably be about a 0, a half, something like that. I'm going to give it a 2. I'm going to give it a 2. I want to see how, I want to see how he plays. Justin Fields, we haven't seen anything yet this season.
The Bears are interesting because they're so bad.
Right,
they're
right,
coached bad.
exactly.
Eberflus, he could be coaching for his life. The word out of Chicago is if they lose tonight, he may be gone, even though on their staff they don't have anybody else that they could plug in. So there's some, I don't know, just kind of an odd fascination, like, looking at an accident when you drive by factor with the Bears this year.
Yeah, and because they came in with such promise, hope, nobody expected them to obviously to be a contender, but they were supposed to be better than this, right?
Competent.
Right, competent. And so you're right. It's like a train crash, or it's like Keystone Cops watching. They're just bungling everything.
Yes.
It sort of reminds me of the Lions just a few years ago. The Lions were sort of that way, and they finally got a good coach in place and turned things around. And so this is a must-win, I think, for the Chicago Bears.
The bungling Bears.
Yeah.
So why is it? The White Sox, of course, were just dreadful. The Cubs looked like they were going to be in the playoffs this year. They were maybe overachieving a little bit. They faded. They fumbled away their chance to make the postseason. And the Bulls, we were talking about the Bulls, how they're just like it doesn't make sense because they have more talent than a bad team should have, but they're a bad team. And then you've got the Bears, who are absolutely dreadful. And this is Chicago. This is what, market 4 or whatever it is, or 3? How can they have so many bad teams in a market where the fans are passionate? They're starved for winners, and right now they don't have anything close to a winner.
And it's a tough media market, too, as well. And so I got to imagine sports talk radio and all the sports shows out there, the fans have to be so frustrated. Is it the curse of Michael Jordan? You had that great success in the 90s. The Blackhawks went on a run also in the early 2010s, I do believe. And so they were a model franchise. I think they won 2 Stanley Cups. And so they've had their share of winning. And now, it's so when I worked in Boston, here's the thing that was so interesting about that city. Like, when one team won, the other teams in the city wanted to win also. Like, it put them on the clock, and so then it started to become an arms race. Who can win more? The Patriots took off, Celtics won, Bruins, Red Sox, and it sort of became contagious. Now it seems like losing is contagious in Chicago, and so it's such a proud sports city. I'm not going to feel sorry for you, though. I'm working in Sacramento right now. I've seen the Kings, struggle over the last 16 years before this past season. And so it's just their turn to go through it.
Could it be, you mentioned the word curse, I think. Could it be that the sports fate said, all right, Chicago, look, we're going to let the Cubs have one.
Right.
But that's it.
That's it for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
You're done.
You're done. You ain't getting nothing after that. All right?
Right. Yeah. Perhaps. But it's sad because they got the money. They had the facilities. They have the sports fan base. Like, it's a great sports town. But it's sort of like, let's keep it real. New York hasn't been all that good either lately, right? New York has struggled, on all levels. The Yankees and Mets, they're spending all this money and they're struggling. The Knicks haven't won since the 70s.
An owner who's not great. I understand that. But, yeah, I mean, from 1973 to now, and the Knicks haven't won a championship.
Done anything.
And they've most of them been bad.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. And so, there was some discussion, who would you rather be? And I think we talked about this yesterday. Do you want to be the Dodgers of the world, the Yankees of the world if you're the Giants? Do you want to be the Mets and spend all that money and still come up short? Well, the Dodgers, obviously, they're in. But, those other teams, the Yankees, year in and year out, they have one of the highest payrolls in baseball, but yet they don't get it done. Would you rather be them or a middle-level team, middle payroll team like 10, 11, 12 and come up short? I want hope year in and year out. I don't know if those Chicago teams have hope going into each season.
So how do you do it? I mean, you've seen it up close and personal. We know in Sacramento for years and years and years, nothing, and there were attempts and they'd fail. But now it looks like the Kings have it right. In New York, they can't figure it out with the Knicks. The Mets this year were sure they had. San Diego was sure we've got it, and it crumbled. So if you're owning a team, as the owner of a team in a sport comes to you and says, how do I do this? What's the right way? What would you tell him? An owner of some generic team, we're terrible and I can't get this right. What do we do?
It's not about the coach. It's not about the players. It starts with the front office, the personnel people. And I would say, let the cooks stay out of the kitchen, right? If you're an owner, don't think you're some fantasy GM and try to make moves, Jerry Jones or somebody like that, Mark Cuban. Let the basketball people, the football people, the baseball people make the decisions. And so I think, when you talk about players, coaches, I think arguably the most important position is that GM, the president of baseball operations, or however you want to spend it, depending on the league, because then you set a culture. And you look at what's happening in Sacramento, Monty McNair knows what he's doing. Like, he's tremendous at his job. We've had GMs come through here. We've had Vlade give it a shot and miss out on draft picks. But yet you get a capable guy like Monty McNair who then picks a coach. Let's not forget, Monty McNair's first head coaching hire was Mike Brown. Luke Walton had already been here. Then Alvin Gentry took over. So the first time Monty McNair was able to hire his coach, he hired Mike Brown and hit it out of the park. So I think that GM, president of baseball, whatever the position is, I think that's so critical.
It takes patience and it takes a plan. And what is the plan? Why is this our plan? And once everybody agrees this is the plan, you got to stick with it.
Right.
It ain't all going to just necessarily
happen overnight.
All right, we're winning.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, you got to stay with it. And it's hard for owners with all that money. This is the plan. 2 years in, we're terrible. Scrap this plan. And then you go try something else, and that's why some of these teams are just terrible forever.
Yeah, and they keep changing on the fly. And
plus, it's hard and it takes a lot of luck.
Yeah, it takes a lot of luck. And we had this discussion yesterday about trading for superstars in the NBA and how it never really works. It just doesn't work because, you're trying to do a quick fix instead of letting it grow.
There's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts. You got to let it develop. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting ready for Thursday night football here. It's the Commanders.
This is in Washington too, right? Isn't it? I think it is in Washington.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And so the Bears are about to go to 0-5. And I'm looking at the numbers.
I almost said I like the Bears in this one.
Do you really? I know. Come on now. You're just trying to be contrarian over there.
Well, I thought about it.
You're like, let me push back on. No, I'm not going to do that.
I want to do that.
Justin Fields, I'm looking at his numbers. 64 completion percentage, Whitey. But he's been sacked 17 times in 4 games. So this guy is running for his life out there. And so you got to give him some time and give him some protection, to make some plays. Like, he showed flashes last season. This year, it's just been abysmal. I want to see that offensive line, give him some more time.
Yeah, he could use it. I'll go with the Bears tonight. I don't know if we want to put something on the line.
Do you? No, why would we put something on the line for this game?
Oh, see, now all of a sudden somebody's scared of the Bears. All right. I
now
see how
all of a
that
sudden
goes.
you're going to make me
like
a fan of Washington? Like, all of a sudden, like, yeah, Washington, they're going to get it. I'm not sure of that.
Let me channel my inner Hollinger and the plexiglass principle. The Bears aren't going to lose every game, I don't think.
No, I'm firmly confident in Washington tonight. Washington, although they're coming off their game of the year, they gave everything they possibly could, and they still lost against the Eagles. They got to be coming back down a little bit.
I like Ron Rivera, former Bear.
Yes.
Do you like or do you buy his explanation for why they didn't go for 2 to tie the game against the
What
Eagles?
did he say again?
He said, and it was a long drive, and he said they didn't go for 2. He said they were exhausted. We wouldn't have gotten 2. And a lot of people thought
that's
So actually, that would have given them the lead, right? So they kicked the field goal for the tie.
For the tie,
So he said we wouldn't have gotten the 2. So
the
Riverboat Gambler didn't want to roll the dice. You're not buying that.
No, I'm not buying that, but I am buying Washington tonight. Justin Fields on the road.
How many points you giving me?
I give you 6.
I'll take it.
I'll give you 6. I think Washington. This is a 24-12 kind of game. You're taking that? Look at it. Now you're in it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points I'm giving you.
Is.
That's a lot of points.
That's more than I don't think the line's that high.
Yeah, what is the line? I don't know if we have time to look it up. I'm going to look it up right quick. Bears.
I have your 6 written
Washington
down.
Line. Let me see
I think
here.
it's only like 3.5, but
is it 3.5? That's Washington's what? 2-2, I think, on this season, right? Aren't they? The line here, 6.
Oh, is it 6?
Okay. Sign me up.
Yeah. All right.
Sign me up. Oh, no, it may have moved, though, in the last few days. It started out at 6. It may have moved the last few days.
So I may be get cheated, huh?
Yeah, watch it be like 8 or something like that. And so you're giving me numbers. You're giving me points here.
And we'll reconvene tomorrow.
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow.
And you know what else we should talk about tomorrow? Talk about quarterbacks so much. We should talk about quarterbacks that you thought were going to be really good. And it ended up
just didn't. All right, we can do that.
Back at you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Simone. We're back tomorrow. Kyle Draper, Whitey Gleason, Drive Guys, Sactown Sports taking it now to Thursday Night Football. Go Bears against the Washington Commanders.
Has Monty put together a roster that can help make a deep playoff run this season?
Just trying to give coach options, give him guys that can help us win in a variety of areas. Obviously, our top guys are going to play every game, but there's going to be other times, whether it's injuries, matchups,